Salute everybody. Hey, good morning here, man. Good morning. You got Bruce Goes over here on my YouTube channel. Me and my brother George Jakovic were here today, man. We're expecting possibly a couple of other good brothers coming in here. But we're going to talk about a fight that we saw, man. We're going to talk about maybe one of the greatest heavyweight fights in the 90s. And I got my brother George Jakovic over here, man. I'm going to bring him up here. If you don't mind, here he is, man. My good friend, the one and the only.
Yes.
George Jakovic. What's up, my brother?
Oh, man. It's a good morning. Good to be on with you. Good to talk boxing. I'm happy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's see who's out there is going to listen to us a little bit this morning here. I got the Nordic Warrior stopping in to say hello, man. Always a good brother.
Man, you get them quick. You get people, they come in quick.
Oh, man. You know, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I have people who, you know, I follow them. They follow me, and it's a mutual thing. When I see they're going online, I bop over there, and I'm just lucky to be reciprocated in the same way. You know, it's the beauty about this boxing community. Demetrius Bright, another good brother. Salute, man. Oh, always showing support, always showing love. And Remy, great guy too, man. Thank you so much for coming here, Remy. Punch Smollett, my brother. Salute, man. Salute. And here he is, the mysterious Paulo. Thanks for stopping in, Paulo. My brother from across the shore, Unrivaled Boxing. The undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing knowledge in Ireland, bro.
Wow. And
here's my brother from Australia, Jed Kiley. We're worldwide over here, man. We're making it big, bro. I love it. My good brother, Stephen L. the Mac, man. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you. Crush the Legend coming in here, bro. All right, man. Andrew Charles, my brother. Thank you, brother. Thank you. MZ, Musical Zone Boxing talks boxing. Thanks, brother. Thanks, man.
Bruce,
Thanks
you bring them in, man. You bring the people in.
No, it's not me, brother. You know,
of course it's you.
Well, maybe it is, but you know,
don't have to be that modest.
This is my family, man. I love doing this, man. I love talking boxing, and bro, when I can get you to come up here, you know it's going to be the real deal. And you know, we got a fight happening here, man. We got that fantastic fight we saw back in '95, man, and it was David Tua and Ike Ibeabuchi, man. Macadocious Mac of the South. Thanks for stopping in, my brother. You know, I remember this fight so well because this was on, it was June 7th in 1995.
Well, it was 90. I'm looking at the record now. It was 97. Your
97.
date is right.
Oh boy. Well, that was
June 7. You got the date. You got the date and the month and the day right.
All right. You see, I remember that because I was into fitness big time back then, and I was going for my certification as a nutritional technician. Which, you know, what the hell is a nutritional technician? Well, you know, that's the guy who can put together diets and who's qualified for insurance in that field. And you know, it was a good time, but it was just they call it a weekend camp. Yeah, weekend camp. You have to buy this $500 book, and you have to study it for about a year. And then everybody from around the country gets together at a specific location, and it's kind of like from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You just go through dieting, and you go through you know, different body types, and you know, it's a whole crazy thing. But this fight was on a Saturday night, and I think it started at maybe 10 o'clock, and I had to be up at 5 the next day to get into my class to take my nutritional technician's test. Neon Eyes, thank you for coming in. Thank you so much, my sister Neon Eyes, man. Anyway, man, you know, I had to VCR this fight. And it was like bugging me. I couldn't go to sleep. I should have stayed up and watched it. But
so you didn't see it live?
I didn't see it live. No, I didn't see it live. It was in my head. And the next day I went to my class, and everybody knew I was a boxing nut. So oh, did you see? I'm like, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I didn't think anybody there would bring it up. But sure enough, man. Oh, you gotta go home and see that fight. And I'm listening to this guy telling me about steaming your vegetables as opposed to eating them raw, and I'm thinking about David Tua and like Ibeabuchi going head to head. Anyway, fortunately, I aced the test because it was stuff that I knew, and I couldn't
That's
wait.
the important thing.
Oh, bro! As soon as I got home, the VCR went right on, and man, what a fight we saw! What are your memories of this fight, George?
I remember that I didn't know who Ibeabuchi was. David Tua was unbeaten, and he had knocked out a lot of contenders. And obviously, a lot of people compared him to Tyson because he was short and he was strong and fast. So I thought this was just another guy that Tua was going to beat on his way to a title shot. I had no idea who Ibeabuchi was. I recognized maybe one name on his record. When I saw him, he looked. You can never judge a fighter on how they look physically because he looked like incredible, like before the first bell rang. But I thought Tua was going to blow through this guy in 2 or 3 rounds, and he didn't. And man, they gave us 12 rounds of heaven.
Heaven for us, absolutely, man.
Not for them, but for us.
You knew it. You knew. Thank you for stopping in. For sure, bro. For sure. And I remember like Ibeabuchi, I had seen him once before, and I knew he was a killer. I think it might have been the was it the Hasim Rockman fight?
Ibeabuchi or Tua?
Was it? Well, they were so similar back then. They were both undefeated. They were both headed for a championship fight. I mean, the demons that came in. There's so much that happened during this fight, after this fight, but before this fight, they were almost indistinguishable to me. They were just two killers, and I saw that. And if this was HBO free, were you with HBO? No, you couldn't have been with HBO at this time, were you?
No, I was just a fan watching HBO then.
Because
just wishing I was with HBO.
This was a freebie. A lot of people don't get that these days. 2 undefeated heavyweights, almost guaranteed a title shot, and they went at it, bro. And they said we're boxers, man. Both of them crazy stories behind both of them, man. I mean, this was Jed Kiley being from over in Australia. He must know a lot about Tua, man, because the Samoan. I think Tua is the only Samoan that ever fought for a world title.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Let me get my head in gear for this fight, if you don't mind, my brother.
Yes.
Keep it cooking for a few seconds, man.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know. I probably saw highlights of Ibeabuchi, but he was unbeaten. But he was definitely the opponent. He was the B side. Tua was the A side. HBO was grooming him for a title shot. Again, the comparisons to Tyson, everyone was talking about it, and I really thought I did not expect this fight to go the distance. I didn't expect it to be a classic that it turned into. And man, but the great thing about this fight is that they went at it from as soon as the bell rang. They went at it.
No feeling out whatsoever. No feeling out.
And with Tua, I mean, he was unbeaten at this point. G5 Gabe.
My brother G5 stopping in to say hello, brother. Salute to you, my brother G5. Thank you so much for coming in here, man.
What's going on, my brother? George, Brucey, what's going on?
Yeah,
you know what's going on, man.
Man, you know me, I can't get to that right now, man. I'm on the clock, I'm on the clock. I gotta get the money first, man.
I hear that, brother. I hear that, man. I'm on the clock too. My wife just went out. She's got a lot to do today, and I'm on the clock to do as many tokes as I can do till she gets home, so I can tell her. I've been vacuuming the floor and taking the dog for a walk and doing the dishes. All that stuff is not gonna get done. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Oh yeah.
So with Ibeabuchi, David Tua hadn't fought Lennox Lewis yet. The the thing about Ibeabuchi, Lennox Lewis going into the Tua fight, he knew he didn't have the best chin. I mean, Lennox just didn't have, but he was a smart fighter, a great fighter. He knew it. So when he fought Tua, he boxed. I mean, he won every round of that fight. He completely outboxed Tua. Tua could be outboxed. Ibeabuchi went right in to the belly of the beast and just went toe to toe. No one would go toe to toe with Tua. And Ibeabuchi went toe to toe. So now after this fight, you saw this guy had power, he had speed, he had a chin, he had everything that could have made him a great heavyweight champion. But outside the ring, he had the demons, and unfortunately, it never happened. I mean, he retired undefeated. He never officially retired, but he never lost a fight. But his outside demons just really destroyed him.
We can talk about that when the fight's over, man. As a matter of fact, he's still MIA to this day, brother.
I think he might still be in custody.
No. He was released from custody, and he still had an ICE holding on him, so ICE grabbed him. But then ICE released him, and his name disappeared off the ICE holdings. And that can only mean two things. That means he's either dead, they're not interested in him anymore, or he's been found not guilty. He's been exonerated, which is unlikely. But it's such a weird thing. And like I said, man, he's missing in action. People have not heard from him. He doesn't have a warrant out for him, but the whereabouts of Ike Ibeabuchi is up in the air, man. Hey, John McSmith, thank you so much for coming in here, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Jeremy Black, thank you so much for coming in here, man.
Yeah, Ike went into the fire pit with David Tua. I agree. I'm with you, George. Nobody really wanted to stay in toe-to-toe with David Tua. You're going to end up on a stretcher.
Exactly.
It's just what it is.
Well, even after this fight, I mean, this L definitely put back David Tua. I mean, he was not the same after this fight. But then when he took Michael Moorer on, Moorer was having a little comeback, and Tua was there. He annihilated Michael Moorer. It was a one-round knockout, vicious knockout. But let's add this to the screen. Let's see how we're doing over here with this fight, man. We're gonna bring it up. We'll start it out. We definitely don't. We don't need the volume on there. We might get in trouble for that. But this is an HBO fight. We got an HBO exec here, so we're not worried about a thing, right, George?
Yeah. Go ahead, use it. Just use it.
Okay.
Yeah,
no problem.
This our copyright pass right here.
Right.
George. Like, you gonna get a copyright strike? No, we have an HBO guy here. Yeah. Shut it up.
Yeah.
Shout out to my brother G Funky Boxing out there, man. Thank you for stopping in, man. We're gonna see a great fight here. We got George Jakovic. I got my brother G5 over here, man. Macadocious Mac of the South is stopping in, man. This is an old time fight party over here. My brother Focus Ball stopping in. Salute to you, man. George H. Man, it does my heart really good to see you guys coming in to see Bruce Goes, George, and G5 over here. Anyway, here's the start of the fight, though. Let's get it started. Let's see what's happening here, man. There's no feeling out process here. These two bulls are going in for the kill, man.
But when I watched this live and I saw Ibeabuchi not moving, just staying in, I just figured, well, it's a matter of time. 2-3 rounds. There's no way he's going to stand up to Tua because people didn't usually stand up to Tua back then.
No. Tua was, like you said, man, he looked like the next coming of Mike Tyson. Thanks, Neon Eyes. I always forget about that. Yeah, please hit the like button if you're in here, man. I appreciate all you guys coming in here. I ask of one thing, man. Be kind and hit that like button. And enjoy the fight, man. Thank you so much. And don't forget, if you got them, smoke them. Because we limit this room to 4 or 5 straight people, and I think we've already got the max over here. So fire them up if you got them.
Look at these Ibeabuchi just going to the body, like head, body, uppercuts. This was my my welcome to Ike Ibeabuchi because I had no, he was hyped up, but he had never fought anyone.
Fact.
And Tua had fought some he fought some Oleg Moskaev in the fight before this. The funny thing about Tua, he lost this fight, but he won his next like 9 or 10 fights, and then he got a shot against Lennox.
Yeah, and Lennox boxes off. It was really a disappointing fight. I was expecting big things because I saw him and I saw another Mike Tyson there.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, the era wasn't right. The era, probably one of your most talented fighters in the '90s to not win a title.
but Tua could be outboxed. Lennox did it. Chris Bird did it. He could be outboxed, and he could be. He was a little. He wouldn't let his hands go at times. But you figure if a guy stands there just like Ibeabuchi's doing, Tua had to be saying, "Stay right there, stay right there. I'm gonna knock you out sooner or later."
Ibeabuchi definitely had a superior jab, though. I mean, he had a lot of people compared him to Sonny Liston in his personal life and in his boxing because he had that ramrod jab. Let's see if we get to see that here because I think that was what made the difference here. David Tua was kept a little bit more on the outside because he just couldn't get inside with this monster, and when he did, Ibeabuchi was a killer on the inside. Also, man, there was no. He was not going to get out muscled or out hustled.
And he could be hit. Ibeabuchi could be hit, but
Oh,
I never saw him hurt. I mean, he only had 20 fights, but I never saw him wobble in this fight. I never saw him hurt.
Back. And David Tua, he was stopped once in his whole life, and that was by Felix Savon in the amateurs. And Felix Savon, what does he have? Like a 5,001
record?
Was
a killer.
like that,
Yeah. But who knows? I mean, they say Ibeabuchi might have had mental issues.
Oh,
I mean, he took a lot of shots for sure in this fight. But yeah, this fight is if you want to see a great fight again that a lot of people have forgotten, I keep going back. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can pull it up.
It sure is.
Pull it up and watch it.
A ton of fights over YouTube. A lot of classic fights.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. Just put in one classic fight, and YouTube is going to configure your algorithm and put up another fight for you.
Yep.
So turn the autoplay on.
You know what I found, man? I found it to the point today, the way boxing is, I get so bored with what's going on, and especially when they're not talking about boxing, they're talking about business of it, and this fight is ducking this fighter, and the ugly state of boxing. Man, I go back to HBO and I'll have a beautiful night. I'll go and watch a Don King card. I mean, I'll go watch some classic Larry Holmes, and I'll watch Ali, and it just takes me back, and it's just so much more enjoyable than listening to the baloney on here. My brother G Funky, Tua like all power punches. He needs to have his feet set.
Exactly.
Yep.
That G Funky's right. And the thing is, Ibeabuchi let Tua set his feet. He let him, and he couldn't move Ibeabuchi.
No.
Like G Funky's exactly right. That's how you could beat him. That's how Chris Bird beat him. That's how Lennox beat him.
Yeah. Every punch Tua threw had bad intentions on it.
Yeah.
Every punch he threw, you can tell he was coming from his gut with it. It was just.
And Jed Kiley has a point here too, man. I think this fight brought up a lot of mental issues and trauma.
Could have. It could have.
I mean, right after this fight, Ibeabuchi was arrested for kidnapping his girlfriend's son, and then he tried to kill himself in an automobile accident, and he left the teenage boy there to die. I mean, he was thrown in jail for 4 months and fined, I think, $500,000 for that incident, and that was before the incident with the call girl in Las Vegas. So the man had some serious mental problems, man. It's sad. It's just it's the reality of boxing. It's the sweet and the sour, man.
It's just it's too bad that obviously he should have served time for his crimes, but it's a shame as a boxing fan just to think what he could have been. Imagine him against Lennox and him. I mean,
Mike Tyson was just being released from jail too. Imagine if a prime of Mike Tyson got in there with either one of these two guys. Damn. Hey, my shout out to Mark Stearns out there. Anybody sub to Mark Stearns if you haven't already, man. I'm not on YouTube, Mark. I can't mod you up over here, but bro, believe me, you're one of my mods. Anybody out there, Flawless Mentality and B&E, hosted by Dr. Mark. So go sign to my brother Mark out there. Mark Stearns, always showing support, man.
So Slide and Counter in the comments said this fight had to be eye-opening for Tua because what he did to Ruiz and Darrell Wilson in one round. Remember when Tua destroyed Ruiz in like it felt like it was 20 seconds. I don't know.
I remember Ruiz's head going down so hard and
Wow.
bouncing off the rope, and it was like, whoa. I think he went face first.
You stood in front of Tua, and if you stood there and you were foolish enough to stand there, you were going to get knocked out. Except for Ike Ibeabuchi. Like, you see what he's doing here.
In the fights we wanted to see, like the fight with Holyfield, any of these guys, or Riddick Bowe, they just never materialized. But yet nobody complained because there was so much happening back then. You know, there was so much action. Every time we complained, they'd throw a fight in our face. So thank you, never mind, no complaints here. But yeah, what are we in now? Are we in the third round?
I think it's the third round.
And they haven't let up, man. And we can see Ike Ibeabuchi's doing some outside boxing. That jab, like I was telling you about, that jab is just keeping David Tua off. When he tries to counter that jab, bango, that big right hand. But Tua, when he gets inside, oh man, look at these guys. Damn, we don't see fights like this anymore.
And it's crazy the stamina that they both had. Like no knock on Deontay Wilder, but Deontay Wilder in that third fight with Fury, he looked completely gassed after 3 rounds, and he still almost won the fight. But these guys, these guys
have no gas tank. It's endless. It's like this is. In fact, I think this fight set a record for amount of punches thrown at the time in heavyweight.
It did. I don't know if it's been beaten, but it did. It definitely set a CompuBox record for heavyweights for most punches thrown.
Hey, let me shout out my brother, the War Report out there. I was out there this morning, bro. I was hitting the Toka 2, listening to you, brother. Shout out there. Anybody's not subbed to the War Report, man, sub out there. One of my favorite shows on YouTube is Making Bake. I've been honored to be a guest on there, bro. And that's where I'm at, bro. Hitting on the weed and watching the fine boxing, man. So shout out to the War Report.
I shall salute, man. Salute.
Absolutely. You're one and only, the most hated, the underrated, the odd fella.
Ugh.
Oh, man, look at they're not letting up. I mean, you know, you get in close, you're just going to get pushed off and get hit again. And, man.
It's crazy how Ibeabuchi just, I don't know if it was stubborn or he just wasn't smart. He kept his left hand low, and Tua kept hitting him with a right, and it didn't do anything.
Nothing. Neither one. Both of these guys, dynamite chins, or they're short-circuited in the brain because I don't see any fatigue. I don't see any sign of hurt. I don't see any legs tumbling. Not yet, anyway. All we've seen is offense.
Like Ibeabuchi, he's holding his hands almost like Floyd would. You know, but obviously he's no Floyd, but he kept getting hit with that right hand over and over, and I just can't believe it didn't do anything.
Nothing. And Ibeabuchi, he walks back to those. Hey,
look at Lou Duva. Look at Lou Duva and Ronnie Shields.
There's a combination we're not going to see anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling David Tua, Electro Jed, salute my brother. Thanks so much for coming in here, man. We're talking some old fights over here. Marion G, my brother, salute, man. I appreciate it so much, you guys stopping in to see me, man. I got my brother George Jakovic over here, and I got the one and only G5, bro. So we're firing up. We're watching some good fights over here, man. And God bless you, man. On a beautiful Wednesday morning over here in Bristol, Rhode Island. And I got my brothers in here chatting with me. I got the family out there watching it with me, man. Salute, man. I wish I could toss you guys all out a nice bud over here, because I'm smoking some nice stuff. I'm smoking some sour diesel over here, man. And, you know, seeing as how we're the token brothers over here, man. I'm gonna just give you a little, just show you what I'm hitting on this morning, man. That's for you waking bakers out there, man. And we're gonna get back to the action over here, man, and pay attention to the fight again. Sorry about that intermission. I just wanted to share that with my brothers out there, man, my sisters out there.
Just every round was the same. You know, it was toe to toe. Toe to toe.
Us. Yeah, sorry about that. G5 stepped out for a second, man. I didn't even know he was back there.
No, man. I was hitting my.
Bro.
I was hitting my weed pen, man, and shit accidentally pressed the exit button.
There we go, man. Now you're ready to kick back and enjoy the fight. I understand, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Ibeabuchi's last fight against Chris Bird, and Chris Bird for 4 rounds he had to be perfect every minute. He was for 4 rounds, then he got caught in the 5th, and he was out. And that's what Ibeabuchi did. If he had a minute to crack you, then you were gone. But the thing is, he also couldn't hurt Tua. Like, he landed bombs on Tua. So Ibeabuchi gets a lot of credit for this fight, but Tua had a great chin, which is why when Tua fought Lennox, he completely let Lennox outboxed him. But Tua just seemed to lay back, and he didn't press. He like I said before, he just wouldn't let his hands go sometimes. He had a chin. He had a proven chin.
And the body shots in this fight too. People tend to underestimate the body work. You watch the hard shots to the ribs and to the liver. You know, they're not neglecting anything here. And especially David Tua. David Tua, he was a master of body work. Oh, that right hand to the liver right there, bro.
Yeah, because he was the shorter fighter, so he was always at a disadvantage when he fought these guys.
Yeah,
Look at that, the WBC International Heavyweight title. Even back in the 90s, they still had that BS International blah blah blah.
Well, that's to justify 12 rounds, I think, because 10-round fights they're too fast. Some of these 10-round fights. 12. I come from the 15-round era, George. I used to see fights go 15 rounds. Some fights were decided in the 15th round, and that's what made men right there. If you could handle 15 rounds. Salute my brother Sliding Counter. Thanks for coming in, man. Listen to Weather Report in the background, man. I saw this concert in 1978. Jaco Pastorius, Wayne Shorter, Joe Zawinul, and Peter Erskine. Awesome show, bro. We're doing this for entertainment purposes, just like we're watching this fight for educational and entertainment purposes. I think they both knew after the first round it was going to be a tough night. They didn't see the results of what usually happens to the also-rans. I mean, these are 2 Brahma bulls in here. I don't know what could possibly be on the mind after you've landed your best shots, and you know that you're getting hit with your opponent's best shots. You're just going to have to hang in there, try to throw it into a higher gear.
They haven't moved from this spot in like 30 seconds. They barely moved 6 inches one way or another. They've stayed in that one spot. They're just like circling each other, throwing bombs.
Oh, yeah.
Ibeabuchi pushes him back, and that Tua pushes.
Yep. Nobody's taking a backward step in this fight.
This is one of those fights you didn't need a ref, because I just saw the ref break it wasn't even a clinch. These guys wouldn't even clinch.
Nope.
They just threw shots. They would lean
up.
Tua just landed that left hook, and it didn't do anything.
It maybe backed him up 6 inches, but he just came right forward, shook it off.
Oh, another one. Tua landed 2 left hooks.
He wouldn't go nowhere.
You know what? But I'll bet you when I was watching this live, I saw that, and he landed another left hook. I was probably thinking, oh, yeah, here it comes. Maybe one more round, and Tua's going to get him out of there. Nope.
Great stuff. Great stuff. I think I remember why I didn't watch this fight and went to bed, because I knew if it was going to be as exciting as this, I would have pulled a 3 o'clocker and maybe missed my test the next day.
Well, the significant thing about this fight before it happened is that it was two unbeaten heavyweight contenders, young heavyweight contenders. That doesn't happen that often nowadays. Like, these guys would not fight. If this was today, there's no way these guys would fight. Whether it be they're with different companies or they want to keep their O.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's kind of compare this to like the Sanchez and the Ibeabuchi fight that we saw.
I mean, I think these guys had, well, Tua definitely was a little more he was a little further along in his career than those guys. That was a nice matchup, though.
Well, the whole card was a nice matchup card too, bro.
Yeah.
But I mean, very, very seldom we have to really think hard to remember heavyweight fights of this caliber, that we got to see. Especially we didn't have to pay for them, because that's what's taking up half of the airwaves. Everybody's screaming about this shouldn't be an $80 pay-per-view and blah blah blah. Let's boycott this. How dare you buy that fight, bro? This was I'm not going to say free, but back in the days we kind of considered $10 a month for HBO pretty much on our standard cable bill. So as far as I was concerned, this was a free fight. And then now they're getting a little bit of distance between them, but nobody's taking a backward step. I mean, you don't see boxing. Ibeabuchi, a little bit of footwork, using that jab. Like I said, that left jab or his ramrod jab, very, very underestimated.
Like, you take whoever your two top heavyweight contenders are nowadays, you won't see that matchup. You won't see Jared Anderson fight like Frank Sanchez or someone like that, because it's so much money to fight the heavyweight champion that they don't want to take a chance. And both these guys were taking a chance because someone was going to lose and it was going to set their career back. But it really, I remember Tua losing, but it really didn't set him back because of the way the fight went. 12 rounds of this. Tua lost, but he really didn't lose momentum in his career.
Salute my brother, Scrapbook Boxing. I'm honored to have you in, brother. Honored to have you in here, man. I bet Scrapbook was at this fight. I'll bet he was in the second row of this fight. I think I would bet my last dime on that.
Salute, Scrap, the OG. I learned a lot from you guys, man.
Thank you so much for coming in here, man. But these two bulls. But I really think that David Tua was psychologically affected by this fight. He just didn't have that undefeated killer momentum. I was. Look at that, my brother. I always win a bet when I say that, because Scrapbook Boxing not only knows his boxing from the 1800s till the present, but the brother was sitting at ringside for most of the fights that I can remember that I watched on television, man. Shout out to Scrapbook, man. Peace to you. Man, and I haven't seen you here yet, my brother. Thanks for coming in here, man. Peace, man. Thanks.
In Tua's fight, Tua's fight before this one, he fought Oleg Moskaev, who Moskaev was a good fighter. What I remember about that fight, Moskaev, I thought Moskaev was winning the fight, and Tua knocked him out late. So
yeah,
Tua showed he could be outboxed. Tua had shown that no one had beaten him, but Moskaev was giving him a tough battle.
Well, so was Hasim Rockman gave him a good fight too.
Well, that was after. Yeah, that was after this. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he did.
And that was another bizarre ending. I recall he got knocked through the ropes at the end of the fight and couldn't get back in. The crazy world of boxing. Yeah, Rockman outboxed 2-2. There you go. Lou Duva and Ronnie Shields in the corner, bro. Unbelievable what some of these fights bring us. We're starting round 7 here, man, and it's a dead even fight. Ibeabuchi's outboxing him. He's winning in the boxing department, but it's a close fight in my books, man. This is.
See, that's what everyone's saying. Like, Rahman outboxed Tua, Lewis did, and that's the point. That Tua Tua could be outboxed, but what Ibeabuchi did is what no one did. He beat him by going toe to toe with him and just going shot for shot with him.
Fact. He didn't back off, and that was the problem. Like with Michael Mora, once Michael Mora backed off, he was toast. Once John Ruiz backed off, that was it. Tua was definitely, like, dare I say, a pit bull, maybe like a giant Roddy, maybe, because he was devastating once he hurt you, bro. That was he knew how to finish a fighter.
Yeah, the Larry Johnson part. I was a Knicks fan. I remember. I mean, I remember Larry Johnson with the Knicks, so I remember the parts. Him and Anthony Mason used to have the crazy haircuts. Who was that? Dave Zowski that he fought? I remember watching that fight on television. I was in a bar and I was telling people, this is George Foreman's comeback. They said, no, this is a replay of George Foreman. I said, no, he's making a comeback. And that was like so bizarre after 10 years of inactivity. And yeah, you're right about that. That was huge. I think it was Dave Zowski. Can't remember for sure, man. It's been a lot. That's me. Thanks for coming in here, brother. Salute. Yeah, I agree with that's me. He could have been great. He had a lot of potential. I mean,
unbelievable potential. I mean, but the man just had demons. He had demons that were almost indescribable. Nando Lams, thanks, brother. Thanks for coming in here, brother.
Man, when I was a kid, when I would watch fights every weekend, I literally had a thick thing of paper. I would score the fights and I would save it. And that's one thing. I've saved most of the things from my childhood, but I would write the fighters' names and I would score the rounds. And I wish I had those now. So I didn't know Harold Letterman back then, but I mean, I would just score the fights. And I told Harold Letterman that story once and he laughed because I'm sure he did the same thing.
Yeah. I did too, and I would try to make like an official scoring card that you see on with the little boxes in there, but I'd always make it. I'd cut it too short. I'd only get 11 rounds on the paper, and I'd be mad. And but you know what I used to do too? It was funny. I used to take the old magazines that I bought, and a lot of times you see like a number 4 contender facing a number 8 contender. I used to take a pen and I'd make little arrows where he's no longer number 4, he's no longer number 8. We don't see it that much anymore, but I pick up last month's edition of The Ring, and almost every division would be disfigured by corrections I've made in there.
Jed Kyle said, oh, go ahead.
Hey, I was on my live yesterday, and I was going through the magazines that you had sent me. Man, it's a lot of great stuff in there, man. I have thumbnails. I'm creating off of that stuff, man. Great info in those magazines, man. Appreciate that.
Oh, brother. Those popped up, and I'm gonna give them to people, man. I'm gonna share them because that's what else am I gonna do with them, bro? Really? Like I said,
Bruce, remember we're gonna do a show one night and have some kind of a contest or but we have to do it because people can look up answers to questions, so it has to be something
I thought of that the other day, George.
Right.
I was thinking about something like that where we can devise some questions where there's no way you're going to look them up in time.
Right.
It would almost have to be a little bit of a mental game along with a boxing game,
Right, because everyone can look up the answers.
It's going to be a lot of fun, man. Because it's a good time. And speaking of good times, look at these two guys trying to take each other's heads off here. What are we into the 7th round? Oh,
this is the 8th round.
And you wouldn't know 7th, 8th round.
You would think it's the first round because the pace didn't slow down, the punches didn't slow down, no one showed fatigue. And look at Tua. Tua right now is just ripping shots. He's just. And both guys are just standing in there.
Really, this is what they call Rock'em Sock'em Robots all about. You could the foot movement is almost like you'd see in a game of Rock'em Sock'em Robots if you ever remember playing that as a kid.
This just heavyweights. you know, you don't usually see this for 12 rounds. Like Bruce, we just watched the Foreman Lyle fight, and that was a complete war, but it only went, well, I say only, but it went what, 5 rounds
Yeah,
because someone couldn't take it anymore. And these guys fought like this somehow for 12 rounds.
definitely, man. They must be short circuited upstairs. Because how can a human being just take this kind of war? And David Tua, he had such a downside in his career too. If you ever heard, if you ever followed him, I remember hearing this stuff years ago. He was homeless. He was living on him and his family were living with his manager. I think he was in court with two of his former managers, and he all the money he made from Lennox Lewis, he made close to $10 million in that fight, all gone. He got whacked by New Zealand taxes for over $2 million.
Yeah, well, that's the same sad story. You hear just so much. You know, you a guy you have on your show, Tim Witherspoon, he'll tell you about the nastiness of boxing and how he lost his money. So
Shoot, he did tell us. He gave us a nice in-depth breakdown. That was great. I'm glad to hear certain stuff like that from fighters.
yeah.
It's funny because Tim he's been through all those wars financially, and he's the first one to admit it. He's broke right now, and he's got a business manager who they're starting to do speaking engagements, and maybe little friendly exhibitions just to get the community going and to make some money for Tim, because Tim, he needs it, man. He deserves it. But like David Tua, like hundreds of thousands of boxers. Retro blood, man. Salute, bro. I sent you a link earlier.
These guys were 24 years old. The graphic just popped up. I didn't realize that. These guys were both 24 years old.
Ike would have definitely been a world. Today, are you kidding? Today he'd be an undisputed world champ. I can't even imagine Ike Ibeabuchi out there. There's nobody that fights like him today that had everything that he has.
You know what would have been interesting? You see Deontay Wilder land his right hand against Ibeabuchi and see what happens or see what doesn't happen.
I would really like to see a master boxer who could go who could box and punch him.
Lennox Lewis and Ibeabuchi would have been a good fight. Lennox knew he would have had to box him, but at some point, you're gonna get hit, and you've got to hit the guy. I think now I could be wrong, but I believe in that first round of the Lewis Tua fight, I remember Lewis landing a big right hand somewhere in that first round. He got a little aggressive and he landed a booming shot. And at that point, like Tua wasn't coming in quite as reckless. So, because Lennox was I didn't appreciate Lennox as much as I should have when he was a champ. Lennox was a great fighter. Lennox would not stand toe to toe like this because Lennox knew he didn't have the chin and it's okay to have that. But
Lennox, he lived and learned. I mean, after he got knocked out by Oliver McCall, he went to Emmanuel Stewart.
Yep.
And what happened? What happened to me? In fact, I heard that it was right at the initial meeting at the restaurant. And Emmanuel stood him up and said, well, you got your elbows are here and you've got to move. And that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. And man, like Lennox Lewis, those two tarnishes on his record, the McCall and the
Rockman.
Bro, I mean, aside from that, impeccable record. But it just goes to show you that these fighters are human, man. They have off nights. Sometimes the mind is not in the fight. You got to be 100%. You have to go in there, and very, very seldom. That's when we see the superstars where everything comes together, physically primed, conditioned, at their peak, and mentally ready for the fight. That's 99% of the war. You have to be a dog in the head. How many of these fighters outside things that happen outside the ring have destroyed them?
Right.
And not even physical things, but just all the pressures. Things were deaths outside the ring. Women have destroyed several of my lives.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. Man, John McSmith is right. Tua bends forward to avoid a jab. That's awful head movement. Yeah, he definitely did things wrong, Tua, but he had the chin to make those mistakes. And you would never know what round this is. I think this is the 10th, and it's beautiful because every round these guys were just having a war with each other, and no one really got the upper hand.
Oh, this would have been a rematch. I mean, this fight would have craved rematch, but unfortunately, never to be. It seems like now a lot of fights are caught up in rematches. Everybody's screaming rematch clause, and he won't sign a rematch clause. Arum doesn't want rematches, so that's why the fight's not being made. That's bullshit. I think the rematch should be determined by the fans. We demand a rematch. Get it on. The demand is there. That the fight doesn't have to be sold. We already want it, and that's what should dictate rematches. Not a first round knockout and come. All I can think of is Floyd Patterson and Sonny Liston when I think of rematches.
Right.
Senseless rematches.
George, I agree with George H. Lennox didn't have a weak chin. Lennox saw he could be knocked out, and the shots he got knocked out with were bombs. But Lennox saw that he could be knocked out, so he fought smart. He used his skills, and he was aggressive when he needed to be, but he knew that he could be knocked out. I remember Freddie Roach, who, Freddie Roach was not a great fighter, but Freddie, if you look at old interviews, he said, I never thought I could be knocked out. And the first time it happened, he said it was devastating because he thought he was like Superman, that he would lose fights, but he couldn't be knocked out. So I think it does something to a fighter when they get knocked out. So I don't think that I agree with George. Lennox didn't have a weak chin, but he was smart. He knew he could be knocked out, and he was going to do his best not to get knocked out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Lennox ever get knocked down and get up and win a fight? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Because when he got knocked out both times. I mean, they stopped the fight against McCall and Rockman. I don't remember offhand if he was knocked down and came back.
Because that says a lot about a fighter right there.
But I give him credit that, look, he got knocked out by two guys and he came back, especially with Rockman. I mean, he got just devastated by Rockman in South Africa and came right back and knocked him flat out in Las Vegas, I think. Flat. So the fact that he did that, he might not have gotten up in those fights and won, but he came back and he beat those guys, especially Rockman, decisively.
Yeah. And
that's what I like about Lewis.
Yep.
Lennox, he always avenge his losses. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If he got knocked out,
that fight almost called for a trilogy, didn't it? Rockman knocks out Lewis. Lewis knocks out Rockman, and we never saw the trilogy. That would have been. I don't know if Rockman even wanted it because that was a real devastating knockout. But here we go. We're in the
11th round.
11th round here, and they look like they're in the first round.
Man, they still banging.
Oh. And nobody looks, there's no sense of fatigue at all.
Shout out to my brother Reggie Owens out there, man. Thank you for stopping in, bro. Appreciate it, man.
TW, yep. He did get wobbled against Briggs, and then he came in and he took Briggs' head off. And Lennox did that fight with Mercer. If people haven't seen it, Lennox Lewis and Ray Mercer, that was a battle.
I thought Mercer won that fight.
It was a close fight. It was a close
fight. That was an HBO Night of the Heavyweights, wasn't it, George?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that was a. I mean, they went back and forth.
Those Night of the Heavyweights were great, man. Those things were awesome.
See these rounds, I see Ike's landing a lot of jabs the last few rounds. That's how he won this fight. He kept sticking the jab out. And Tua he could be hit with a jab.
All things being equal in this fight, he won with a jab.
He switched up the jab too. He do singles, he do doubles, he do triples. He landed, he's scoring points.
Oh, oh,
I mean, it was literally nonstop. There was very few moments where someone wasn't throwing a punch. And they'd see right there, they were leaning on each other. They didn't clinch. They broke the clinch themselves
yep,
and just
right
went
there.
back
Yep.
to throwing. Like this is Tua. I mean, no one did this to Tua. Stood there.
Nope, nope.
I guarantee you, Lennox. That's what Lennox was smart. He wouldn't fight Tua like this, and why should he? Lennox was 6'5". You know, fight
Oh
to
yeah,
your skills.
Lennox used every physical advantage that he had in that fight. You know, Tua was frustrated. He was throwing these wide arcing right hands and just missing with the hooks. Remember, look at this. Ibeabuchi's right there to be hit. Tua's obliging him. Ibeabuchi's not even moving backwards an inch. This is just unbelievable. The chins these guys had, bro. And even there, it looks like they tried to clinch, but they wouldn't do it.
Jesus. I mean,
Tua's getting set to throw his power punches now too. Oh,
and Tua landed some shots.
Yeah, he did, man. And it didn't phase Ibeabuchi. Ibeabuchi gave him a high fiver on the way back to the corner, man. This is awesome stuff.
You ever? I know you guys have stood in a boxing ring. Sometimes I would stand in a ring, like if it was Vegas or whatever, and be in the corner and just imagine a guy like Mike Tyson or Ibeabuchi in the other corner coming to get you. Those rings are not big. Even the bigger rings, I can't imagine like being in a ring with a guy trying to take your head off like that.
Oh, and what did they weigh? 225, 230. I mean, these are.
Ibeabuchi was 235, and I think Tua was 220 something for this fight.
Yeah, and wide, long reaches. Both of these guys are huge. And Ibeabuchi, he was built like a Mr. America. He was just ripped.
And usually those big muscular guys, their stamina, it kind of betrays them. And Tua rocked Ibeabuchi the end of the 11th, and Ibeabuchi is coming right back.
Right back.
And he's busy and he's landing shots.
Gymnasium. The difference between gymnasium muscles and having the being genetically gifted and just being built like that.
See now Ike being smart, jabbing, moving a little.
Yep.
And he got caught.
He's circling. Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the few instances where he's staying on the outside. And even when they get in clutches, referee no problem breaking these two giants apart.
This is the first round they showed, like they both looked a little tired there, and they have the right to be tired after 11 and a half rounds of this. Jeez.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Ibeabuchi's much more active than Tua in this round.
Yeah, that's a fact, Reggie. Before Lennox went to Emmanuel Stewart, he would have got down in the trenches with him.
Yeah, and that might not have been a good idea to fight Tua like that. But I still say that first round, Lennox, if you watch that fight, I could be wrong, but Lennox landed a good, solid right on Tua, and it kind of slowed Tua down, and I think it showed him, like, you want to come in, this is what I have for you. Jeez. Just, it ended just like it started.
Yeah, just like it started.
See,
and really, these guys left a little piece of each other in this ring.
Oh.
Wow. Unbelievable. What a fight. and Ronnie Shields and Lou Duva, they know that Tua lost this fight. They have to.
Man.
They know, man. Yeah, isn't that amazing how two guys can pound the tar out of each other for 12 rounds and then go and hug like that. And,
yeah, that's the beauty of it. You know, it's brutal, but when you see the guys hug like that, and those are cool moments.
Did you watch the Don King card at all this weekend, George?
I read about it. I didn't watch it, but I did read about it.
Yeah, the cruiserweight title fight. That was a decent fight.
Did he lose that fight? Because everything I read said that he lost that fight.
Makubu, is that his name?
I think so. I think so.
Because their names both sounded very, very similar, and it was a close fight, and it almost looked at the end because it was Don King's card. Don King, I mean it was one of maybe his last hurrah. He still has that same denim jacket that he wore back in the 90s, and it looks like he hasn't washed it either. And I'm sure he'd have to take all those badges off and all those pins. It's loaded. I mean, that's something that's probably going to go into the International Boxing Hall of Fame after Don passes. But he had that jacket on, and Don Elbum was at ringside. He had him in the ring, and I thought those two had bad blood.
Yeah, they probably did, but I guess time sometimes heals wounds.
Oh, it was great to see. I was almost getting a little choked up when I was watching watching those two guys. And I saw how old Don Elbum has gotten. I haven't seen him in 30 years because he had such a mouth, and in fact, I think he was the guy who really got Don King into the promotional business.
Yeah.
Don King called him. It was in one of the documentaries I saw. And Elbum was talking about it. He goes, Don Elbum, this is Don King, man. He goes, I'm producing a fight with Muhammad Ali at the Cleveland Children's Hospital for poor black children. We want to get you involved. And Elbum was like, whoa, who was this guy?
Right. You know what? At the end of that clip, I forgot that Cedric Kushner was with Tua. I just saw Cedric Kushner, who I think he's passed away, but I remember when Kushner, when Hasim Rahman beat Lennox Lewis, Cedric was Hasim's promoter. And this was the first time he was really hitting the big time. He had a heavyweight champion. And I remember Don King came in the picture, and Cedric Kushner had the heavyweight champion for 5 minutes. And somehow Don King ended up promoting Rahman for that rematch with Lewis. That's boxing.
Yeah, Don King, Cedric Kushner, he was such a friendly looking guy, just a big Captain Kangaroo mustache,
right?
And he was bringing a lot of South African talent up to this country back when we'd never seen South African fighters. I remember the invasion he had with Coetzee, with Cali Canozzi, and I think with Mike Koranicki, and they were supposed to come up here and make us forget about Ali. And I remember Bob Arum was the only promoter who would do business there, back in the late 70s. And Canozzi was the first one. He was a knockout artist. I think he knocked out Dwayne Barbic, and he was the first killer. But then he got in that tournament with the heavyweight tournament. And he was in the finals with John Tate, I believe, and John Tate.
Big John.
Yeah, Big John.
Boy, that's now that fight. If one of the most thrilling fights I can ever remember was Big John Tate and Mike Weaver.
Oh, that's one of my all-time favorite fights.
Unbelievable, and that was a 15-rounder. That was back in the 15-rounders, and that 15th round, I mean, Mike Weaver might have lost 14 rounds. He probably lost 13 or 14 rounds, and then round 15. That's why boxing is different than any other sport. It's that it can just end just like that. There's no time. There are rounds, but there's no score. It can end at any minute. And John Tate was never the same after that.
One punch could change the fight and change your life.
Yep.
Could change the fight and change your life.
Yep.
And it changed. And Mike Weaver too. Mike Weaver was such an underdog in that fight, and he was getting killed in that fight. He never showed signs of quitting. And talk about conditioning. That's a guy who had zero condition. I've seen him admit it. When he got serious about boxing, he couldn't run a mile. He'd run a half mile, throw up, turn around, and walk home. The next day a little further. But Ken Norton just instilled him, showed him the money that he could be making, and he had the natural God-given gifts, the power, and Mike Weaver was a pretty good boxer. You remember when he boxed Scott Ledoux?
Yeah, he had he had some skills, and he's not one of the greater heavyweight champions, but the guy was a champ, man. He earned it. He fought Larry Holmes. That's when people first started to notice him. Early in Holmes' title reign, he fought Mike Weaver, and Mike Weaver gave him all kinds of problems in that fight before Larry came on and knocked him out.
I used to read about Weaver in the magazines. I saw his pictures and stuff, Mike Hercules Weaver, but I never saw him live because we were pretty limited back then to what we saw on the tube. But he fought Larry Holmes, and that was I didn't see the fight. It was closed circuit. They didn't even have a location in my state that I could find. I think I had to go to Boston to see it, and who was Mike Weaver?
Exactly.
Larry Holmes, but I read about it the next day, and I saw clippings of it, and I said, wow, this Mike Weaver is something. But Larry Holmes, he had that uppercut that ended the fight that was like pulled it out of nowhere. And Holmes never wanted to give Weaver a rematch after that, even when Weaver had his WBA title.
Yeah.
Holmes could have been undisputed. He didn't want a Weaver rematch. He took one. He gave Weaver a rematch. I think it was only a few years ago, 20 years after their initial fight. Yeah. When Larry was doing his comeback thing, I think he went to Macau or some casino gave him $1 million, and he called Mike Weaver up off the couch, and Weaver's, Mike, you want to make a couple of $100,000?
Yeah. Sure.
Who is this? This is Larry Holmes, bro. Remember me? Yeah. And Weaver did a couple of push-ups, and he's the kind of a guy who bango. He's going to look good if he diets for a week. And 20 years later, Larry beat him again. But it was, it's part of the folklore of boxing. Meant nothing. It was after Larry fought Butterbean, and because Larry was a businessman. Larry milked every dollar out of his career. Still is. We couldn't get Larry on here. Larry would want to charge us. And Larry would want to charge us to have his brother on here. That's the kind of businessman Larry is.
Weaver, the another great thing about boxing is even sometimes when you lose, you can really change your life. And Weaver, because he gave Holmes such a tough fight, he ended up getting another shot. And just recently, when Tank Davis fought Isaac Cruz, no one knew who Isaac Cruz was. And Isaac Cruz gave Tank hell. And now he emerged. Now he's one of those guys that he's in that lightweight class of fighters I want to see. So he lost the fight, but in one night, like that, he's changed his life. And, we'll see what happens on his journey. But, you can even in a losing fight, you can change your fortunes in boxing, like Weaver, like Isaac Cruz. I mean, there's a ton of stories like that. It's great. Tex Cobb, John McSmith said, Tex Cobb comedy roast of Larry Holmes. Don't miss it, fight fans. Tex Cobb was a funny dude. He was
and he was a tough dude too. He just
he
was not a slick boxer.
No,
that. Thomas Jones, bro, thanks for coming in here, man. Salute to you. You missed it. We're kind of wrapping it down now, but me and my brother George, we were on here for about an hour. We were chirping up some great boxing. We watched the David Tua and the Ibeabuchi fight, and we start talking about the heavyweights. We can't stop. Tex Cobb, I did a little video one night. You got to give Tex Cobb credit. I mean, whatever, but Tex Cobb's the man who made Howard Cosell say no mas to professional boxing. And some people are glad that Howard stepped out at the time. He was having all kind of problems. He was doing Monday Night Football and foot in mouth. But Howard was a great guy. Howard Cosell was a crusader, bro. Shout out to Howard Cosell. But Tex Cobb, probably one of the funniest guys you'll ever. The comedy roast, and Tex was a comedian. you listen to some of his interviews, you see some of his movies that he was in. I think is there somebody in the back here stopping in? Yeah, we got my brother Blood Boxing jumped on the screen.
Oh,
Hey,
there's
Blood,
Blood.
salute, man.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Good
What's
to
up,
see
Blood?
y'all. Yeah, man.
I'm doing great, Blood. I'm hitting on a Toka 2 over here, bro. I'm hitting on some sour diesel. I'm gonna have to take a ride later on. I've been going through the online what's available at the shop. They got some purple haze over there. It's kind of.
You went on your daily walk yet?
Oh yeah. I went on my daily walk, but it's kind of dangerous out there because the roads are still a little bit slick. Even the sidewalk ways around here, and bro, I don't want to go on my ass. Every time I do, it hurts more and more. So I made the walk no problem today, but they're telling me it's going to start freezing up tonight, and the roads are going to be.
Lord.
It's crazy, but yo, bro, yeah, the walk.
Well, I'm wearing a T-shirt today down here in Florida.
You son of a bitch.
You know.
I'm ready to put my hood on.
Where are you, Blood?
I'm in Florida. I'm down here in Florida.
Man. What's the temperature so I can just be jealous?
Let me see what Gainesville weather is today. Hold on, let me give it to you real quick.
You're in
What's going on, blood?
Let me see here. 75. 75 right now.
It's not even 75 degrees in my house.
Right.
It feels good outside, man. Everybody's outside right now.
Thanks a lot, Blood. Thanks for rubbing that in our face.
39 over here. Hey, Blood, what did you think about David Tua and Ibeabuchi?
Man, that was a fucking awesome fight, man. I saw that fight when it happened because I was following both of those guys. Because you remember when they featured David Tua? When I first saw Tua was on the there was like a heavyweight card.
Yes.
And he beat the shit out of Ruiz. You remember that? He knocked Ruiz out.
Yeah, we
that was
talked
like one of
about
the
that.
most vicious knockouts that I had ever seen. And Ike, I just caught on to Ike, man. I just ran across him. I can't remember when I first saw Ike, but I did follow him throughout the majority of his career. Once they started featuring him, then I started following him at that time. A very good fight, man. It was a very good fight. I thought highly of both of those guys, man.
Yeah.
I always wanted to know what would have happened if Ike had fought Lennox Lewis. And I think that the later version of Lennox Lewis would have did a lot better by just keeping his distance from him and things like that. But you never know because let's not forget what Rotman did to Lennox Lewis. And Ike had a lot of punches like that. That would have been a good fight with Rotman too. Rotman versus Ike would have been a good fight.
And Lennox would have had to have been prepared for that fight because he proved throughout his career that he was a thinking man's fighter, bro. Especially with Emmanuel Stewart. So I think he would have beat Ibeabuchi. I think he would have gone in there with a plan. And I think Emmanuel would have had him on 2 or 3 different levels. He would have had him, when to get in the trenches, when not to, when to box, when to back off. Because Emmanuel, man.
But you never know.
What a great, exactly. We can go back and forth all day. You never know.
Because
remember when he tried to come out that time a few years back, man? It was like 10 years ago. Now, not 10 years ago, but like 7 years ago. He tried to come back and then he was talking about coming back, and then he had to go back to prison because he wasn't taking his meds and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ike, yeah. Well, he had
really sad.
He had two stints in prison. He had that first stint out right after the Tua fight where he kidnapped his girlfriend's son.
Yes, yeah.
He got in a car accident, tried to commit suicide, and he really permanently injured the teenager. I think he paid $500,000. I was reading, and he had to do 4 months in jail. But then he got out, and that's when he really flipped out. He was in a hotel room, and he had a hooker in there with him. And she ran out, said that he raped her. He barricaded himself in the room. I mean, it was just, it was sad to see. It was the breakdown of a man. Somebody could have.
He's too big and dangerous to be out there like that too. I'm sorry, but that's a big dude. Around Ike when Ike is not on meds.
Oh my God!
Well, right now he's nobody knows where he is. He was released by ICE. He was released by prison.
He got released again.
He's on the loose, and he's not. There's no jackets on him. But
I thought they locked him back up because he wasn't taking his meds.
Well, the last I heard. The last I heard, he was released by the federal prison system. This was only less than a year ago, 6 months ago.
Okay.
And ICE had a hold on him, but ICE released their hold. They dropped it, which they said is very rare. It's only because they believe somebody is either dead, has been found not guilty, or I forget what the third thing was, but it's just a rare thing. But Ibeabuchi, nobody knows where he is. He's not returning any phone calls.
Maybe he found him a way back to over to his native land. Maybe he found him a way back.
Nigeria, possibly. But
there's always a way around the system.
A forgotten warrior. That's where my brother Trick Nolte comes in, man. My brother Trick Nolte will track him down if he's anywhere, man.
Yeah, I'm sure
I was
Trick can
listening
find
to
him.
you guys talk about when Larry Holmes came back and fought Mike Weaver, and that was like, what, 20 years ago? So right at the beginning of 2000, 2001, maybe? I'm just thinking off memory, but at that same time, he also called Bone Crusher Smith to come back for a fight. He was trying to get all the old guys. He was trying to get Cooney to come back in the ring with him and all of them, and they didn't really I think he did fight Bone Crusher Smith, didn't he? He fought Bone Crusher.
He did.
Well, yeah, he defended the title, and they probably did do a rematch because, like you said, he was on that comeback tour. But it was a shame.
He did one with Bone Crusher, but I never saw that fight. I missed that fight, and I've looked for it before, and I couldn't find it.
Yes, he did. You're talking about he fought Bone Crusher Smith a second time in 1999. He knocked Bone Crusher out in the 8th round, and then in 2000 he fought Mike Weaver. He knocked Weaver out in the 6th round, and then Larry Holmes' last fight was 2002. He fought Butterbean, and I remember he schooled Butterbean. He did. Larry was.
But he tried to get he made calls to other guys too. I know for sure Cooney was one of them. He called like 3 or 4 of those guys to try to come out and fight him, and they were like, "Nah, forget that." And I remember too when Ernie Shavers made a comeback in Ron Lyle. Do y'all remember that in the 90s?
Yep.
When those guys tried to make a little comeback?
Yep.
I think Ernie Shavers got knocked out and Ron Lyle knocked out 2 bums, but it's always sad to see. That's why I don't want to see Ike be whatever his name. I don't want to see him come back now. It's too late now.
Butterbean was 334 pounds for that Larry Holmes fight.
Man. I'll tell you what, Butterbean had
let me shout out Peter Von Ox who stopped in here. Peter Von Ox, thanks for coming in, bro. Sliding Counter stopped in. My brother Random Acoustic Thoughts is here, man. I appreciate you guys coming in. I want to shout these guys out because what happens, blood, I miss them, man. I forget them, and I don't want to slight them. I know how good it feels when you shout me out in your show, bro. And same with my brother. My brother Gabe up there and George. And George, you've been doing those quickies lately. You've been doing some awesome shows. You got Randy Gordon in there, man. And you guys, you put on that 2-3 minute jewel, and then you're going and saying, "Son of a bitch, man, he's getting me all warmed up," and then he disappears. You got to do a full live with him. You got to keep it pumping, George. You got some good stuff in there. My brother Mad Chad's in here. Shout out to Mad Chad. Thanks for coming in, man. We got the G's up here, brother. We're having a good one. I'm smoking some of the last sour diesel over here, man. And I got Blood Boxing who jumped in to join us, man. My brother G5 and George Jakovic, man. We're old school cats. We like chopping up and G5, man. He's our dog over here, bro.
That's right. I'm up in here with the 3 G's, y'all. We got Goes up in here, G for Goes. We got G5 Gabe, and we got George, the 3 G's, the triple
There we go.
threat.
Triple G, the new Triple G.
The Triple G threat right here. I'm with him.
I got my bro Mad Chad out there in the audience. I know he's working right now. Shout out to him. He drives around all day, does courier work, man, deals with some hazardous materials as in human blood and different things he transports. So shout out to Mad Chad, man. Check him out tonight. I think he's going to do Chocolatito and Neverate tonight. So shout out to Mad Chad.
It worked my damn self, but I had to hop on.
You and me, we're always puffing together, and we're always thinking about boxing. You're on when I go to bed last night. I asked you if you want to jump on today. You honor me with coming on here, bro. And dude, that's what I love, man. I love all these cats coming in and telling me things that I don't recall and shit that I remember and blood, man. Blood's a fucking encyclopedia. George, you gotta check out his show. Retro Boxing and Documentaries.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing one on
I've seen some of his stuff. It's awesome. I mean, I love that. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm still getting better. I'm gonna learn. I'm learning more about the editing, and I got some very good stuff coming out on the light heavyweights of the 1970s.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Era.
Man.
I want to go into that transition from Bob Foster to Matthew Saad Muhammad and talk about Eddie Gregory and his movie.
Oh yeah,
all these different guys, Michael Spinks and coming
Mike
out of the Olympics.
Mike Rothman was the link there. He seemed to be the guy who was almost the torchbearer to bring it from Bob Foster up to Victor Galindez and to the end of the 70s.
God, that light heavyweight division was incredible. Incredible.
It was. They had some really great characters in that division too. And then they had the guy who was fighting from prison too.
James Scott.
Yes.
Right,
I'm from Rahway, New Jersey. And James Scott,
wow. Okay.
that prison is 2 miles away from where I grew up. So
so you're from a fight town though. New Jersey, that's like a big time. That's where a lot of the great fighters and fights occurred over there.
Yeah, and that prison, it's 2 miles from where I grew up. And the funny thing is about that prison, it was called Rahway State Prison. It was technically not in the city of Rahway. It was in a city called Avenel. And now it's called like East Jersey Correctional State, but everyone calls it Rahway State Prison. So
they changed the name, but it stuck. The old name stuck.
It stuck. And wherever I went, people joked saying I was an inmate let loose. So Remy, my channel, you have my name spelled wrong, but Bruce has it right. If you just look up George Jakovic, Jakovic, it's on YouTube. That's the name of the channel. But yeah, Rahway, like I got grief everywhere I went. If people in Jersey found out I was from Rahway, oh, they let you out of the prison, the prison jokes. I got prison jokes all the time. So
yeah.
Shout out to Tony Boswell, always showing love in here, man. Salute to you, bro. Yeah, Shavers was, in fact, the last I heard from Tim, and we had him on the show, he told us that back in the day, Shavers was working with Don King. He was like the drill sergeant in the camp. He'd get the fighters out of bed, and Tim was saying he didn't bother the G's. He didn't bother like him and Michael Spinks, the guys that are in there. But the new guys, imagine having Ernie Shavers in your face at 5 a.m. Get out there, man. Get on that road.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, who's gonna say no to Ernie Shavers? Like,
no.
Okay, I'll go run.
He has too much power, man. I don't want to. I want to wake up and stay awake.
I love watching some of Ernie's. I mean, I think the favorites of mine has to be that Norton fight, man.
Oh man!
Oh, the 1 round knockout. Yeah.
And Ernie was the sacrificial lamb. That was supposed to set up the rematch with Norton and Larry Holmes.
Norton just didn't do good against the heavy punch. Norton had a decent beard. It's just that the real heavy punchers, the guys with the thudding power, would always knock him out. If they had that big thudding power, then they would be a threat to Norton. But they had to have that big thudding power for Norton, though.
Yeah, Norton. I love Norton, man. When he first knocked out Ali, I was pissed at him. I was like, "Who is this guy?"
Well, he didn't knock out Ali.
No, I'm sorry. Broke his jaw.
Broke his jaw.
Correct that. Yeah.
I don't know where I was going, blood. I think it's this sour diesel taking me away, but I use that for excuse too much.
Sour diesel.
I use it for excuse too much, but no, those.
Hey man, I'm high as shit too right now.
Hey, shout out to Q to God. Shout out to you, my bro.
That's what I'm talking about, blood.
Hey, G5, you still reading the magazines that Bruce sent you?
Man, yeah, I was on my live last night showing people, footage and like some of the quality pictures that came out when they was doing them. They might not have HD.
If you want some more magazines, I got a lot of them. I'll send you some. Just tell me where to send them. I'll send them to you.
Hey, I sent some. My brother MZ, he was just in here this morning, and he was interested in magazines. I think it was one of the early shows that I did. I was giving them away, and nobody was really responding to it. But MZ wanted them, and I think I did something like the 25th person who likes this in the chat. I'll send him a few magazines, and he was the first, and he was the 5th, and then it kind of stopped. So I just said, I saw him doing a live. I said, "Hey, MZ, I'm gonna send you some magazines for the hell of it anyway." But he makes candles, these beautiful glass candles. I don't know if he blows the glass or whatever, but anyway, he says, I'm going to send you something too. He sent me one and it came in FedEx and it was smashed. And I'm like, oh, fuck. But anyway, I sent him the magazines, and being the stoner that I am, I typed a few letters wrong in the address and it went to the wrong house. And you can't go there and say that you got my mail. They have to give it back to the post office. You know, they won't give you the address it went to. So anyway, I just sent him 4 more. He finally got them. And I appreciate.
Hey Bruce, tell me where to send me your address, because I want to send. I have some boxing cards with the bubble gum in them that ain't even been opened, bro. Like I got packs and packs of these boxing cards from like the early '80s that they came out with.
You did that trivia. When I was listening to you a few years ago, you had that trivia contest.
You remember? Yeah, I was giving them out. I still got tons of those boxing cards, man.
Imagine how that gum is.
I need a piece online.
The gum is like a card itself, you know.
Oh my God.
I need a piece online, man.
I wouldn't try the gum, but I'll tell you what, though. I'm gonna send you some of them, Bruce, and you can open them, because I didn't open them. I got tons of unopened packs of that shit. You can open them up and see what's in them.
Hey, Unrival's in here, man. Shout out to Unrivaled. He wants to smoke with the blessed. I'll shoot you a link in here. Let me figure out how to do it over here, man.
Oh yeah, send Mark a link, because I need to talk to Mark anyways. Because me and Mark, we were doing a top 25 ATG, and Mark helped me on that. He actually kind of coordinated my show when we did the top 25, and I would like to finish that out with him. But I think I'm just gonna finish it out with like Mark, and maybe I might invite a couple more. Bruce, you guys can come on too.
But I was on that too.
I'm going to do a documentary in the top 25 boxers since 1980. It's only since 1980. It's not. Let's not go before 1980, right? So we got the list we got the top 25, and the good thing about this list is the list was built by the audience. It wasn't built by me. I didn't even agree with the list, but we're going to arrange the. Me and Mark could get together at some point and arrange the fucking top 25. Mark, since you're in here, man, you still want to do that top 25 with me, just real quick before you?
Sure. But since we're on the topic of magazines, when you were doing that trivia, where the fuck is my magazine, blood?
Because you never sent your address, and you was a fake. You did a fake character, a fake guy on me, man.
Well, of course I'm gonna do that, bro. I'm not allowed to go into trivia competitions. Don't you know that?
I knew you was a historian anyways when you started answering all them questions. I knew what was up. You send me your address, I'll send you some magazines out your ass. Send me your address. Email.
Yeah, if they say, whoa, somebody came in from outer space. If they say to you that it's gonna cost a certain amount of money to ship them, right? You tell me, I'll PayPal you the exact amount. I don't mind, because I'm in a different country.
Don't worry about it. I got you. Just send me your address and I'll send you some magazines, and I'll send you some boxing cards too from the early 80s, which I'm trying to save as gifts to give to people and stuff like that. So
that's
they haven't even been opened yet. So you could eat the bubble gum in it if you want at your own.
I want the gum. I want the gum
because it's from 1982 and shit. And if you want to eat it, that's up to you. Yeah.
Yo, I can use that shit as like blue tack and shit this day.
82 was the year I got married the first time, bro. 82, damn. That was like
82.
Yeah. 82 was a good year, bro. I was hot, man. I had a wad in my pocket. I was wearing the gold. I had the rings. I had the.
You got to start posting some pictures. Like when you start bringing up dates, like I don't want to hear you talk. I want to hear you talk, but I want to see the pictures too.
I didn't take. I'm going to be totally honest.
Oh, you have pictures.
No, listen to this, bro. My first wife, she made albums of everything. She had the when we went to see Hagler in Provincetown. Hagler at the fucking Bristol 4th of July parade, and she had all these things with our wedding and all that shit. And when she moved out, she took them, but she was telling me, I'll get them to you. You get them. Her fucking her husband, I guess, I don't know if he's an ex, I don't know what the fuck happened, but anyway, he went nuts. He destroyed the fucking photos, all the things, and my life until about 1989 got destroyed. The photographic part of it, because we didn't have computers to put it on to download it, and. I find once in a while I'll find pictures. But my wife now, the one I've had for the last 30 years, she's a good one at that. She's got a lot of pictures, a lot of shit going on. But those are the ones I show on here. I show the ones that I went from fat to in shape and You know, Mark knows. I'm not ashamed of. You know, I show whatever I have is. I'm a fucking open book around here. You guys want? I'll tell you stories that'll make your fucking toenails curl. But hey, man, it is what it is, and that's what I'm here about. You know, nothing I do is I don't break the law anymore. You know, and I'm a card-carrying marijuana patient in the state of Rhode Island. I collect Social Security and I collect a small pension. And man, I'm trying to improve my life every day. I'm meeting good people like you, man. We're just talking boxing and just trying to fucking enjoy the autumn years of my life, man. So that's where it's at with me, bro.
I hear you.
Sure.
So, Bruce, what's the next fight going to be? What's the next fight? You kind of get inspired. You just hear something or you feel something and you say, let's go back and watch this fight. Whenever you get that inspiration, just let me know.
Yeah, what you going to feature next, Bruce? What
I don't think he knows. I don't think that's the beauty. I think Bruce just gets hit. He's like, oh,
well, I'll tell you. You know what I want to do, bro? I want to do February. A lot happened in the month of February, bro. I mean, the number one fight, the fight that is, you know, to me, the historic fight of the world over here, Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston, bro. Number one in Florida. I would like nothing more than to sit there and chop that fight up, bro, because that was like. But the only problem is when I talk about Ali, I get lumped up, man, because man, I got such fucking heavy memories of Ali, and it's hard for me to do a show about that. Look at this, man.
You mean this one, right?
Look at that! Look at that! Oh, that's a beauty, George.
You know where I got my little office has things like this. When I was at HBO. People like the execs used to have pictures in their office, and every so often there was a little common area outside. People would just put these things out that they didn't want anymore. So I have this. I've got Tyson Spinks on my wall. I've got Tyson Burbick on my wall of you know, that people at HBO.
So you're telling me that somebody didn't want that you have in your hand?
Someone didn't. This was put where not the garbage goes, but it was like the giveaway pile. So yes, someone did. So
I'll be standing by the giveaway pile every day.
Every day. It was like a common area because the HBO, it was the 11th floor was the sports department. It was just sports. So there was you would get off the elevators and there was a little seating area for people who were up for interviews or whatever. And on the table, people would put books, people would put things like this, and I would be the one that would take it to my office and take it home. So
shit. Hey, let me shout out to my brother Duke in here. Fourth quarter talk, bro. My good friend, my brother. We work out together over the internet, man. We do shows on Friday afternoon, 6 o'clock. Fourth quarter talk, man. Sub over there, man. Big Duke is the real deal. I'm not even giving his alkaloids over here, bro. You got to go and see him, man. Awesome show. He does more than just fitness. He does more than just working. He got Ray Mercer together the other night. We did an interview with Ray Mercer, but Ray lost connection with us. His Wi-Fi went out. Awesome guy, man. Shout out to my brother Big Duke. Peter Von Ox is in here, man. Shout out to Peter Von Ox and anybody else come in. I didn't look. I gotta pay attention to the chat. That's one thing I don't do. I start talking to you cats, man. Votes UK, and I don't want to slight anybody in here, bro. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for coming in. Lance Meyer, man. We got everybody. Okay, man. George. Keep going, bro. What else you got back there? What else you pull out of the dumpster at HBO?
I mean,
don't let me almost. No, I'm just kidding.
Look, almost everything on my wall, like this Sugar Ray Leonard, this big Sports Illustrated.
Oh wow!
That's beautiful.
I had a big one about that size of when George Foreman was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he knocked out Micah Moore, and I've moved a couple of times. That's missing. So, but almost everything on my walls, it was stuff that people didn't want, and I wanted it. I wanted it.
Yep.
I don't know how somebody wouldn't want something with George Foreman. That's a historical moment when he knocked out Michael Moore, the oldest heavyweight champion ever.
Right.
Like, who's gonna throw that away to the side? It's like those guys must have a lot of valuables over there at HBO. I know there's big wigs walking through there, but damn, man.
Like that picture on the wall, you know, and the one over there. Those Tyson, that Hearns Barkley 2 poster. it was all free stuff, so I took it.
Hearns Barkley, man. Woo! You know, that's the last fight that I ever bought on pay-per-view. I haven't bought many of them. I'm from Rhode Island. We're the we don't pay for it state, bro. I mean, if it can be bootlegged, we were the first state that they made black boxes at Raytheon where they make the nuclear missiles, where they made the Scud missile, all that. The fucking defense system of the United States also made the first black boxes. But anyway, bro, they were making those since 1985. So I got every fight that came on. I support boxing, but I'm not from a rich generation, bro. And I wasn't poor, but a lot of brothers and sisters. You know how it is, man. I mean, I'm from Rhode Island, man. Somebody would slap me in the head if they saw me buying pay-per-view. So, my bros out there, they fucking come in here and tear my fucking system up. But anyway, man.
Hey, Keith Thurman, that's a pay-per-view. Thurman and
yeah.
Barrios.
Well, I already ordered that. I already ordered the Fury and White fight, so I'm covered on that end. But the Thomas Hearns and Iran Barkley, the rematch, I ordered that because that's when I was figuring out how to send the different signals over the box. They went from digital to whatever they went to. But anyway, I ordered that, and it still didn't come in good. I still was pissed off, and I paid, I think, maybe $24.95 or something, whatever they were charging back then. And so I just said, I'm not. And they didn't give me a refund. They just said the next one we'll give you for free. I said, okay, thank you. It's soured me to pay-per-view, and and now we got the internet. If anybody's stupid enough not to know how to stream a fight on the internet, then they deserve your $79.95 or whatever they're charging. But I'm not going to fall prey to that, because all you're doing is you're creating a market for that, and there's no market for that. How many people know who Mario Barrios is? And
he's coming off of a loss to a smaller guy. I mean, you got two guys coming off a loss. The one who was more popular hasn't fought in 2 years, and he got beat by a legendary fighter. But let's not forget an old ass Manny Pacquiao. And the other guy got beat by Tank.
Right, you're on the short bus again over here, bro.
Keith Thurman hasn't won a fight this decade, and I know we're only 2 years into the decade, but he hasn't won a fight this decade.
That's accurate.
So, and he thinks he's worth it. He thinks he's worth it. I saw something on Boxing the Scene, and he talked about, well, the price of bubblegum isn't 25 cents, so he's trying to validate that he's worth it. I mean, I don't think so. I think Thurman's got a lot of pressure in this fight because Tank, who is a very small guy for his weight class, at 140, knocked out Barrios. So if Thurman doesn't knock Barrios out in 3 or 4 rounds, I mean, I don't know what that means for him.
To be fair, though, if he's saying like a price of bubblegum is 25 cents, that's 300 pieces of bubblegum or like 10 months supply of bubblegum. That's worth more than that fight by a long shot. A 10-month supply of bubblegum. A stick a day. Come on.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But yeah, I'm really not looking. I'm going to watch the fight. I'm not going to pay for it.
What's worth more? This.
Looks very good there, Bruce. What's that sour diesel you said?
No, this is green crack. This is a little bud that I had.
Jesus Christ, Bruce. Jesus.
Because see, I do it for the flavor, not just for the high, man. I do it like a wine connoisseur used to do it, bro. I dig the different taste that it has. And I save probably the best bud when I buy my half ounce. 88 Sports. Shout out to you, brother. Thanks for coming in, man. I'll put a bud. I take the little medicine jars. You get your fucking whatever pharmaceuticals you may be prescribed. And I save the stuff.
Different kinds. The Toka 2 is confused over there.
Yeah, I make sure I label the suckers. I don't have that many. I have maybe 4 or 5. And I don't have the dough, so I can just afford to keep them in there. After a week or so, I do them. And, keep the loose joints in here. But anyway, man, I just wanted to show you that. And to me, getting back to this fight, can you fucking believe $80 for this fight? On seriousness, why why are they doing that to us? Can anybody explain
These fights
that?
used to be free on TV. This is not
All
a
right.
fight that we asked for as the fans. See, back in the day when we had pay-per-view, that was from fan demand. We wanted that fight because it was a championship fight of importance. Now they're giving us crap. They're giving us this and expecting us to pay for it. No, absolutely not. I think everybody should rebel, keep those numbers low, get them about 5,000 sales, and then they'll learn their fucking lesson, right? That's how I look at it.
I'm as sycophantic as a boxing fan can be. Like, I will watch fucking anything, and I'll pay for nearly anything. Now, I'm not in America, so I don't have to pay for this, but if I was, the chances of them getting my money are about as high as the chances of me beating Usain Bolt in a 100-meter race. Just not going to happen. It's just never going to happen. And not, to be perfectly honest, anybody who does buy it, it's pure. They have some type of bias. Like, it has to be a bias. Like, they have to be either like the most hardcore Latino fans or like Keith Thurman's like wife. You know what I mean? It has to be something like that. It just has to be. There's no hardcore boxing fans about to spend $80 on that fight. No way.
I agree, man, 100 on that. I don't think none of us up here are paying. Is anyone paying for that fight up on the panel? Anybody? Nope. Silence. Cricket.
No, I don't know anybody.
Right there. What about out there in the chat? Any of y'all out in the chat paying for this fight? I want to know if there's anybody who's paying for the fight, so we could put the spotlight on you and we could really find out what's going on here, right?
Like, straight up, if people like, I don't normally like promote like shit like this, but like, if y'all want to watch the fight but you don't want to pay for it, follow me on Twitter at MC Boxing Stars. Send me a direct message on Twitter, and on the night of the fight, I will send you a direct link to the fight. I'll give you a direct link, no problem. We call that the premium network. The premium network.
That's right. That's VIP, baby. You know what I'm saying? VIP is when you get it for free. That's right. When you go up in the VIP, man. You know what I mean? We don't wait in line over here. Keith Thurman. We don't wait in line, homie. We VIP, homie. We got all kind of VIP access. So you best to get it together, my brother.
And we have all the HD links as well. We have all the HD ones. Ain't that right, Bruce? We know all the HD sites.
Bro, I was reading about a fight the other day. I think it was the Ali and might have been the Ali and Terrell fight. They only had 50 outlets in the United States where they sold that fight on closed circuit television. Only 50 fucking arenas in the whole country. Imagine that. And today, look at Judge pulling out the goods over here, man.
I know Blood has this, right?
Let me see if I know.
Oh, yes, sir.
Somebody on,
yes, sir.
Somebody on solo camera, Mark.
Classic.
You put your little cursor over him down low, and you'll see like a little click out box. So there'll be like a little box on the edge of that to the top left of it on him down low, just above the remove screen area.
Okay. Now all I can see is edit name, edit settings.
No, you don't click on them. You mouse over it, and a little tiny box will appear. A little tiny box, and you click on that.
Oh, layout. I think I got it here, bro.
There you go.
George, you know, if you have any of those Ring magazines from the 1950s, did you notice how the Ring magazine was bigger back then in size?
I don't have any, but I've seen them. That they're bigger. Here's my guy though. Like, you were a Hearns guy,
yes,
but
sir.
that was man. But yeah, the ring it was bigger. The physical size of it was bigger then.
Yep.
Man,
that's a nice collection you got there, though, man.
Yeah,
I
luckily
have so
my
many
wife
duplicate magazines that I want to send out, but I won't send them to anybody, just anybody, or I won't give them away because ain't none of my friends that I know in real life love boxing enough to keep those magazines. They're gonna give them to their kids and all kind of shit. So I'm gonna find someone who I could give my magazines to.
Hey, Blood, check the private chat, man. My info in there. You can send them to me. I'll put them to use.
I got you. I got you, man. I'm gonna send you some. I gotta send my boy Trap House Boxing some too. I'm gonna go and just send both of y'all some. I got you, bro. You got a real good surprise package coming.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, so Blood, you were talking about the 175 pounders back then. This is July 1982, Ring Magazine. This is their ring ratings. The light heavyweights, Dwight Braxton was at the top, Michael Spinks, Matthew Saad Muhammad, Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, Carlos Celestine, I'm sorry, Carlos De Leon, Jerry Celestine, Murray Sutherland, James Scott, Marvin Johnson. Like,
All
that's
of those
insane.
guys are top notch, man.
That's
And
insane.
Carlos De Leon, that's a bad boy too.
Yeah, I remember him at
People don't know
cruiserweight.
about him.
I remember him at cruiserweight, really.
Yes, he did. I know he lost to Holyfield, but when he was a smaller fighter and coming up, he was hell, man. Great fighter.
I look, I
George Foreman.
I got Bruce started. Bruce will be here for like 6 hours when we're all off, and he'll be showing people magazines.
Oh yeah, shit, man.
The next time I'm gonna come on my other laptop and I'm gonna show you guys some 40s and 50s ring magazines because I have all of them from the 40s on up.
That
So
has to be worth
show you guys some of those because
I'll tell you,
shout out to you, Bruce. You sent me the 83 ring magazine one.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like my old lady cleaned out a closet a couple of months ago, and she found a bunch of them that I had, and you know, man, I dig them all, but I read them a million times, and there's only so much I can do in a day.
What's your rarest one, Bruce? What do you think is your rarest one?
I don't know, man. I really don't know there. I'd have to lay them all out. If I did all that, because my wife, the librarian, she did all that for me a while ago, and she actually put them. She filed them away in accordance with time. She put them to the she had the 83s, 84s, 85s, 86s.
Yeah.
And
I think
I screwed it up. I put them all together. She had them sideways. I put them this way, and I gave a few away. But anyway, man, I don't even know what the most important one I have is.
Well, the rarest.
I would say the rarest.
I know I've got one. I've got a Boxing Illustrated from the sometime in the '60s, and it's got Ali on the cover. I think he was Ali at that time. But that's I don't go back that far. Like I don't have them from the 40s and 50s like you, Blood.
Blood, what would you say is your rarest, Blood? Your rarest.
I don't know, bro. I really don't know because I have all of the ring magazines. In
That's
fact, I was
crazy.
going to send Bruce a clip because I did do.
You have every ring magazine?
1950s. I have a clip where I show all my 1950s magazines. The camera on this laptop don't work. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it, but it won't come on. But I was going to send Bruce the clip though, but I don't know which one, Mark. If you look through them, you'd probably think. I mean, I had so many Marciano covers and.
But
Sonny
Blood,
Liston.
you have every single ring magazine going back to when the magazine started.
No, not when.
Okay, because I was going to say, because Blood, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
If you had, there's one that Ring did in April. It was the April issue for 1940, right? During World War II. That April issue, they only actually released and sold 150 copies. So the actual price value on one of those, if it was mint, is probably about 50 grand.
Wow.
I'm just saying straight up, like I'm a bit of a collector myself of the magazines. My rarest one is from it's from February 1930.
Wow.
It's got Jack Dempsey's original top 27 ratings of fighters, so he has his top 27 fighters in the sport in 1930, and that's my rarest one. It's worth about 1,000.
Wow.
But it's not the rarest, but it's got good price value.
Right.
I don't have that one. I'll tell you that because the earliest ones I got are from like 1948 and up. But once you get to
that's still amazing.
I have all of them. I have every last one of them.
If you have any features with Ezra Charles, Blood, if you go through them and you see anything that's featuring Ezra Charles, they're actually worth a pretty penny now too.
I have
because
all those. I have so many. Listen, Mark, I look through those pictures. Ain't none of those pictures on the internet. The pictures that I got in the magazines, they're not on the internet. There's so many pictures of Ezra Charles, all kind of guys on there, man, who fought like Ike Williams and guys like that. Carter, guys like that. I got a whole bunch of stuff. BoJack, all those guys from the 1950s. I got so much covers that I don't know which ones are the biggest ones. I don't know.
You're an active collector then, obviously. Like you look for these, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now I am. I used to have a bunch of magazines back in the day, and when I was going to the University of Florida, I had to I would always change roommates and stuff like that and go somewhere else, and I left all my magazines in the laundry room. It was like over 1,000 of them that I left back there. When I went back, the cleaning crew was there, and they was all Mexicans, so I knew I was out of gas. I was like, man, y'all seen some magazines? They didn't know how to speak English.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was out of all those. So I had to pick back up on the magazines. Now, there are some things that I have that I did keep that didn't get lost in that stuff that stayed at family members' houses and stuff like that, and boxes. So I got a lot of shit like that too. So
wow.
But now I have a bunch of shit because actually, I am on the hunt for shit now. So, I just ran across some good stuff, man. And I got a lot of duplicates too. So that's why I'm trying to get rid of all the duplicates.
Right. Man, that's some collection.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm your recipient. Send them. Shit.
See, I was just a person who bought the magazines every month. I even had the woman at the store. I think there may be 6 publications each month. And I think they get up to us when I stopped buying them. I think they were maybe $5.95 each, and instead of me going there because just getting there was a pain in the ass. I always look forward to the mags, but they all seem to come in at the same. I'd go in and buy one. The next day she'd call me up and another one would be in. So I said, Mrs. Marshall, put them together and I'll wait for 5 days. Just call me when they're all in. And usually they're in like 3 days altogether. And I would get them reserved for me. I'd fly down there. But the thing about the mags was we have to remember that was always 3 months behind from the fights, which was
at least 3 months.
Yeah, you're right. The magazines were pretty much issued 3 months after the fight, but some of the articles and some of the ratings, they would be 3 months behind there. So these things are not up to date. They're as up to date as you could get at the time, but as far as the info that we get today, archaic by the same standards. I always wondered why it took so much time, and they were just so nice to get. Nice fresh editions of the fights that we saw. We're waiting for that to happen. I remember Arguello and Pryor. I can't wait to read about that black bottle. But it took us 3 months before it came.
The Ring magazine was always a little bit more up to date than Box Rec by a month, sometimes in the ratings and things.
Well, there were those 3 of them there that were good. The KO.
I mean, not Box Rec, Boxing Illustrated. My bad.
Yep.
They were a little bit ahead of Boxing Illustrated. They'll get their rankings a little bit more up to date than them.
Yeah.
Boxing Illustrated would be like 3 months behind and shit like that.
But they had Boxing Illustrated had the good articles in it though. That was the thing about them.
True.
In fact, I think Bert Sugar went to Boxing Illustrated for a while, and they were like, "Wow!" I mean, because
what's so funny is all the typos they made in the newspaper though. I found newspaper articles where they had like rankings from like a year ago, like being posted that day, and you'll look and you'll be like, man, this guy ain't even champ no more. And I mean, they made a lot of mistakes, like serious mistakes too.
Yeah. Yo, Bruce, can I put up an advert just in case somebody in the chat may have something? If just to appease myself, yeah. If anybody in the chat happens to have or know anybody who has a copy of Ring Magazine September issue from 1930, please let me know if they're willing to sell, because it's the only one from 1930 I don't have, and it would finish out my 30s collection.
Mark, I think I know a guy who has it. I'm here to tell you. I think I know who has that. So
okay, because I'd be willing.
Put it in the private chat, and I'll look for it for you.
Okay, I'll write it down now. Because like not a fake issue, because I've looked for an issue and I found fakes and stuff.
I thought that I had posted a video on my 50s Ring magazine, and I'm looking through my videos, and apparently I didn't. So I'm going to do one, Bruce, just for you. I'm going to show you all the Ring magazines from the 1950s.
There you go, Blood. Put that there in the private chat. Like that's the one I need to finish out my 19. All of my 30 through 39, everything. That's the only one I'm missing, and that
This is
it's hard enough.
1930, right?
The year 1930 to September issue.
Okay.
Yeah, O'Grady absolutely fought some brutal wars. I used to dig the Bubblegum Kid, Sean O'Grady, the whole family. They were like a trip in boxing, man. You know, you remember the WAA when that came out, man? Monty Masters, who married Papa O'Grady's daughter, was the first heavyweight champion. And any of you guys remember that one, man?
Say it again, Bruce. Which one? I'm sorry. I was
Sean O'Grady's family. Sean O'Grady's family started the WAA.
I remember that.
They were having their own champions, and Monty Masters. He married one of the O'Grady daughters. He was the heavyweight champion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Sean actually fought. Sean fought Andy Gannigan. Remember Andy Gannigan, the lightweight,
the Hawaiian guy,
the Hawaiian Punch. Sean O'Grady fought Andy Gannigan for the inaugural WAA lightweight championship. It was on CBS. Big thing about it, because Sean O'Grady was, he was a personality. They were a fighter and somebody behind the mic. They love him. And Andy
he was a media darling for sure. Sean O'Grady. He came up as a young baby face, man, like the little kind of baby face type fighter that
Well, he beat everybody. I think Danny Little Red Lopez might have knocked him out early in his career, but he was fighting all those Midwest fighters. The guy, the guys with 13 and 53 records. And Sean O'Grady was once a week. He was fighting in his hometown.
Sean O'Grady was 81-5. That was his
you
record.
go, man.
81-5.
And he was really young too, from what I remember. Just looking back at his stuff, it's been a while since I've walked the path of Sean O'Grady. But I know he was really young, and I see a lot of articles when I'm doing other research. I see him all the time in the newspapers.
He only fought for 8 years. He had an 8-year career, and he had 86 fights.
And it started in the 70s, right, and ended in the early 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
75 to 83. And I'm looking at it. It's not the top of my head. How many fights
did he have in like 1978? What did he have, like 20 fights?
In 78?
Well, did 77,
5,
78.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He had 10 fights in 78. 10 fights in 77. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the names there are crazy too. I think that when he first went against a marquee name, it was Danny Little Red Lopez. If the memory cells are clicking in.
You know what? I always thought it was great when they picked him up on Tuesday Night Fights, and I thought he was a very good commentator.
He was very good. I just
couldn't understand why nobody picked him up after that. Like, he would have been great for the sport.
Well,
I could respect a guy like him because
you know what?
He's actually been in the ring.
They go for the big names though. Like HBO had George Foreman forever, and then they had Lennox Lewis because they were heavyweight champs, and they had Sugar Ray Leonard. They would just go for the big names that weren't necessarily the best analysts.
Exactly.
At least that's what I think.
Sean did have a pretty decent career, man.
Sean was a champ. I mean, he had a good career.
But I'll never forget the saying that he had. He always talked about healing cuts, because I think he might have went to medical school or pre-med. Very, very educated character. But he used to always say, a cut from boxing heals 1% one day. It's almost like he basically said a cut takes 100 days to heal. So it heals 1% per day, which made no sense to me. But I'll never forget, because he said that a lot. And nobody really ever questioned him on that, because a lot of those Tuesday night fighters, a lot of cuts would reopen. And we got to see that, and we get to hear from an old boxing family. He'd talk about I remember learning about Monzel Solution, listening to Sean O'Grady talk about it. How it was outlawed, and how that's why how Ali got his eyes burned in the first fight with Liston. But Sean's definitely a historian, man. I would like to see what he's doing now. Don't put that up, Bruce. Why, Remy? I'm sorry, man. Carmen Electra Playboy, want that up, man? Remy, my brother. You know, I got to pay more attention to the technical side of this because I don't, man. I start listening to you guys, and I could have somebody come in my chat and write, Bruce goes, you fucking asshole. Your views on boxing. I let it go. I wouldn't say. Not that I would anyway, but I got to pay more attention to the cats in the chat. I need a producer, man. I need a producer. That's getting too much for me to handle. You know any out of work producers out there, Mark? And send them. I'm sorry. Yeah, how about you, George? You know any out of work producers up there who want a part-time job?
Hey, are you kidding me? I'll take the gig with you being your producer. Like, sign me up, man. I'm in.
All right, man. We'll work something out behind the scenes. Like they say on here, I'll put it in the private chat.
Hey, you know what? I was just on Instagram or Facebook, and I don't know if people are joking or not, but you always get those people that say, "Man, I know boxing. I know boxing." And one of the questions was something like, "Who would win this fight? A prime Alexis Arguello or a prime Michael Spinks?" Like, they'll ask these questions, and they're serious. Like, some of them, they're dead serious. Like, they're like, "Oh, prime," and then they call guys like with 60 pounds between them. It's just kind of funny. Yeah.
Now, the best one I ever got asked, like, that really just cracks me up, would be, how would Marvin Hagler do it in New Way?
At what?
How would Marvin Hagler do with fighting against a New Way? The dude was dead serious too.
Yeah, but it's always the people that say they know boxing are the ones that don't.
I know.
Boxing.
I've had so many casual conversations that started in the 80s. The shit started in. I have so many of them because these guys just don't watch boxing like we do. So it's like when they talk, that's one thing they'll always do. They'll mix up the weight classes and stuff.
Yeah, always.
And imagine if Marvin Hagler versus Tyson. Who you think would have won that one, man?
Like, that would have been a good
Hagler
one.
retired before Tyson came around.
He
retired before Mike Tyson came. Who you think would have won the fight? And that kind of shit. I don't even know how to respond, man.
Yo, Blood, I have a serious question for you though. Who would have won prime for prime? Sugar Ray Leonard or Sergey Kovalev? Hey, don't laugh at me though. Leonard was a light heavyweight champion. Leonard was a light heavyweight champion.
Yeah, Leonard. They gave Leonard that belt. They gave him the 168-pound belt and the 175-pound belt when he knocked out Lalonde.
So he can fight at 168.1 pound.
I'm a Sugar Ray guy. I'm in all seriousness, Sugar Ray is gonna knock Kovalev out. He's gonna knock Kovalev out.
If they catch weighted, he will. But if Kovalev gets to come in at 175, I don't care if they fight at 175. Sugar Ray Leonard's gonna knock Kovalev out. Guess what? Sugar Ray Leonard's gonna knock Muhammad Ali out. Sugar Ray Leonard's gonna knock Tyson Fury out. Now I sound like a yeah, you're getting a little bit.
Yeah, a little carried away.
You had me for a second there, but
right.
There we go.
Right.
Oh my Lord, man. Oh my Lord. No, that's but we have seen amazing things in boxing. You know, when Leonard came back and fought Donnie Lalonde, I knew Ray Leonard was going to win that fight. I made a lot of money on that fight. A lot of these casual cats who had just come into boxing, like Blood said, they got the kids from the 80s who saw Donnie Lalonde, win a light heavyweight championship and the Golden Boy, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Their last memory of him was damn, he's getting knocked around by Tommy Hearns. So people didn't give Sugar Ray Leonard much of a chance. Not the casuals anyway. But I knew Leonard. I knew he still had it because I saw him do it again. I've seen Leonard. I knew he was levels above Donnie Lalonde. And sure enough, I was tending bar at the time, and a lot of the cats. It was I had to wait because that was a fight during the week. I only tended bar on the weekends. I worked a regular job.
He was only like 33 or 34 when he got beat up by Terry Norris, though.
And well preserved too.
He had been doing too much cocaine.
Yeah,
that's the problem. People don't
want to admit up to that. I didn't know about
you can never do enough cocaine.
With Mike Tyson on Hot Boxing. Go look at that. That'll tell you a little bit.
That's a great interview. That Tyson Sugar Ray Leonard.
That's a real touchy kind of interview. But it's a great interview. Because
my favorite moment in the whole interview when it's just like it stops like for 4 seconds and Mike just goes, "You Sugar Ray, you will." And Ray just looks like he's like, "Yo, I need to get the fuck
He said,
out
yeah,
of
he
this
said,
so fast."
man, he's like, man, I worship you, nigga. That's what he said to him. I
Yeah.
worship
Yeah,
you.
and
I
you
worship
just look at Ray. Ray didn't know what to do. He was like terrified.
But I will say, Ray gave real answers. Sugar Ray Leonard is like a politician in a lot of his interviews, but in that Tyson interview, he actually gave real answers like a real person. Because Leonard and Oscar De La Hoya, they kind of tell you what you want to hear. But with Mike Tyson got him to actually like
bring it out,
respond,
bring
and bring out like things in his heart.
That's because Mike would know if he's bullshitting, and Michael just be like, "Don't bullshit. Hey, give me some respect." Like, I don't think Ray wants to piss Mike off.
Well, Ray knows. I mean, Mike did. I mean, he said he revered Sugar Ray Leonard. So, you know,
I want to ask y'all something though. Did you expect Sugar Ray Leonard at 33 to get beat up by Terry Norris like that when it happened? Right.
I did not. No, I'll be honest. I thought that, especially if, Sugar Ray was down to 154 again. I figured that's like a better weight for him than 160. And I probably underestimated Terry Norris. And at that point, like Leonard was done at that point. We just didn't.
Yeah,
no
he
one,
had been
no
out
one
of
knew
the
it.
ring for 2 years doing cocaine because he was coming off of wins against he came off of a draw with Thomas Hearns and then a win against Roberto Duran, and then 2 years later he cherry picked Terry Norris because Terry Norris got knocked out. I forgot who was that who knocked out Terry Norris really bad. Julian Jackson, right?
Yes. Norris
Julian Jackson knocked him out, so he cherry picked Terry Norris. But when I saw that presser and they both put their fist up, Terry Norris's fist was twice the size of Sugar Ray Leonard's. I was like, oh shit. I mean, I didn't know what to think, but I don't know. It's just something about that presser, man, that made me feel like Sugar Ray might be in over his head, man. And he went out
Terry
and
Norris. Terry Norris is a very forgotten fighter. Terry Norris had a good run in his prime.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. He ended up being one of the greatest 154-pound fighters ever.
Yeah.
He had a long reign.
Yep.
He just took too many. He was one of those guys who engaged in the combat too much. He had the skills to avoid a lot of the conflict that he was going up against. He could have, backed off of some of these fights, man, and fought a more defensive fight. But he would always engage in toe-to-toe action, and he didn't mind taking a few shots.
Yep.
That's why Simon Brown called his ass cold that time.
Yeah, he did.
I always say that Terry Norris is the greatest 154 ever, but he's not the best, if you feel me. Like, he has the most amount of like title defenses, the most accolades in the division, so that signifies his greatness. But in terms of like being just the best in the division, I personally think the best fighter from 154 in 154 but didn't achieve as much but still had good achievements was Mike McCallum.
Oh yeah.
Mike at 154 is one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my whole life.
He knocked Donald Curry out with one punch.
And Donald Curry was the favorite in that fight. I remember Mike. Donald Curry he had excuses that he lost the welterweight title. He couldn't make weight, and this was his perfect division. I believed him, bro. Because I wasn't privy to backstage. I didn't know about the drugs. I didn't know about what was going on. And when he fought Mike McCallum, when Mike McCallum starched him, I was like, whoa. I'm watching.
It wasn't just like what he did to him, like what he did to Braxton, what he did to fucking Julian Jackson. Yeah, like he destroyed what was the name of that the Italian dude, Mancillo. He absolutely annihilated Mancillo. And the way he took the title, he won every fucking round against Sean Mannion in a 15-round fight. Like, this dude, before even getting to the title, fucked up Ayub Kaluli.
They just didn't want to fight him, bro. Like those big guys. Because
Tommy Hearns ducked Mike McCallum.
But see, the mistake McCallum made is he went over there and fucked with him at prom. So they knew what he had already. So they knew not to fuck with him because he had already.
Tommy Hearns ducked him. I love Tommy Hearns.
He got handled in sparring. He did duck him.
I love Tommy Hearns. But he was a bitch when it came to Mike McCallum.
Well, you heard about why
the way he
You heard
did.
about why McCallum is so sour
I don't
on the
agree
call
with that.
Kim. You know, McCallum was supposed to get the fight with Roberto Duran.
He was. They fucked him. They really screwed him out of that Roberto Duran.
Exactly. They went behind his back, and Tommy Hearns got the fight. And Mike McCallum was like, "What the fuck, man?"
I did a documentary on McCallum. I talked about all this shit. They screwed him over the Duran thing.
And Mike is still doing interviews now. I talked to him on I believe it was Major Keys, and he was going to come back and do one, but you know he's got the common illness of most Latter-day boxers. They forget all the time. You know they don't remember. And you know he blew it off, and I don't know if Major Keys never got it on again, but Mike McCallum, and he was going to do it with Julian Jackson too. And he asked me to come on there, and it was like, wow, this is going to be a monumental interview, bro. But it never happened. McCallum,
I like McCallum, but sometimes he strikes me as like one of them, like Larry Holmes, bitter old men type. You know, there's a few of them around. You know, they were great in their time, but like Larry Holmes, for instance, that motherfucker is so bitter. He never has nothing good to say about anybody. I heard he just had an interview come up the other day. And they asked him about Mike Tyson, something about Mike Tyson. They said, "What do you think about his show, Hot Boxing?" And he said, "I don't care about Mike Tyson. I don't care about him at all." You know, he never has nothing good to say about anybody.
You know what, though, Blood? I think that's kind of a very common old school thing, right? Because, like, I'm just gonna, like, go back to, like, even Dempsey. On the eras that went after him, right? They were trash. Shit, all the fighters, the sorry state of boxing. And we seen the same thing with Rocky Marciano quite a lot. Like, and
Jack
it wasn't
Johnson
just
said it about Joe Louis. He said, "Oh, he
exactly
in my era."
Well, that story goes deeper. That story goes a lot deeper because Jack Johnson was bigging up Joe Louis quite a lot. But you so you know everything to do with like Jack Blackburn and everything like that. So you'll know all of that story. It's a deep story.
That the whole thing with Blackburn, that's what really fucked the whole thing up.
Pretty much. And it was really just Jack Johnson trying to keep his fucking face in there. Like, to be honest, without sounding like people are gonna hate me for this, it was like he was trying to be like Floyd, trying to remain relevant for too fucking long. Do you feel what I mean? He was just getting his face into it. Oh, you couldn't. And Jack Blackburn was like, "Yo, get that dude out of here." He's like, "You don't want his face here. That's negative publicity." Jack Blackburn didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, but he was trying, like you said, he was trying to be on Joe Louis's side, but Joe Louis kind of gave him the cold shoulder a little bit too. Gave Jack Johnson the cold shoulder, and that's when Jack Johnson
started shitting all over him.
And but he actually went over and helped Germany. You remember when he went over there to help prepare?
Well, I don't remember 100%. It's you see that story itself going over with Schmeling was never to help. To help with that. That was never 100% validated, right? It's been rumored for years. They never 100% validated that he was actually. It was Schmeling that he was actually training, but we pretty much know, if you get what I mean. It wasn't validated, but we know.
Right. Well,
it's crazy. Imagine that though. Jack Schmeling got fucking Jack Johnson to help fucking train him.
Yep.
Some good experience.
That is. Because, you know, Jack Johnson knows a lot of those old school tricks because he was fighting with 4-ounce gloves and all that kind of stuff. You have to know how to roll punches and all that stuff. People always say that the fighters from that era didn't know how to do this and that. Yeah, they did know how to do. They had to know how to do it when they had 4-ounce gloves and bare knuckles coming at them. They had to know how to roll punches and stuff like that and block and find different ways to. Jack Johnson had a lot of that experience as a fighter. He was just a fighter. So anybody.
Hey, let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys a question while you're here, bro.
What's that?
Let me ask you guys about this question. I've never gotten 100% answer to it. I've gotten I don't think so. Or maybe did Jack Johnson ever fight Jack Dempsey in an unsanctioned match that was put up by millionaires in Canada? What do you think about that? Did it ever happen, or is it just a crazy rumor?
Ooh. I did a video on this, and actually that video that I did on this subject is one of my most watched videos. So there's like 1,000 comments under it or something.
Oh,
and The way I see it, man, I think the paper ran a fantasy matchup. And you know how the writers today will like try to, they still try their little tricks to validate what they're saying, but they don't they write it in a certain way. Like you guys know what I'm saying, right? To kind of validate some bullshit, but it's not really the whole story. I think that's what happened. It was a media mistake. And when they started asking Jack Johnson and Jack Dempsey about it, Dempsey was the one who would always kind of say that, yeah, it did. He wouldn't deny that it didn't happen. Jack Johnson would say that the fight didn't happen. No, I never fought him. So, I'm thinking that maybe it didn't happen. That's my opinion. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Interesting, though. I read a story about it years ago, and the writer, he said he thought it did happen. So I guess it's folklore. But I'd like to hear opinions. How about you, Mark? What do you think, Mark?
Well, can I tell you what my great grandfather told me when I asked him about it?
Only if I can quote you.
Okay, you can quote me. So he was alive back then, right? And I asked him, did the fight actually happen or was it a rumor? And he said, well, anything will be a rumor. Anything will be a rumor when it's just a private audience. But from what he knew, a week after, there were some scratches above Jack Johnson's eye, and he hadn't had a fight in months. So take that for what it is. He believed that.
Jack Johnson didn't really go down on record really denying it either, like all out, except for maybe one time I was able to find like a quote, like when Jack Johnson was really old before he died, where he said that it didn't happen. But other than that, they had asked him about it. He kind of brushed it to the side type thing. And Dempsey would pretty much say it happened. He just doing it. I guess because it was private and maybe they had a gentleman's handshake. You know how that went back in the day. The gentleman's handshake went a long fucking way. Right? So that's part of the reason people say it did happen. And that's a good point Mark brings up. If it's a private event, then it's always going to be a rumor anyways, right? So that's something else to add in there. And Jack Johnson is never going to admit and say, yeah, I lost to him and I got beat up. But it's a possibility the fight did happen.
It is actually possible. It is really possible.
Jack Johnson won the fight too. That's what I heard.
No, Jack Johnson didn't win the fight. He what happened is he floored Dempsey or something like that. Like so in the fight he had his moment, but Dempsey eventually was just too much for him. He was too young for him, and I think they said he knocked him out in the 7th or 8th round or something, right? Was it in the 7th or 8th round that he supposedly knocked him out in?
You have a much better memory than I do, Blood.
I can't quite remember. I did a video on it, so I'd have to go back and visit because I did the research so long ago. But I do believe they said Dempsey won that fight and stopped Jack Johnson. But Jack Johnson hurt him really bad or something like that. It was a little embarrassing for Dempsey.
You see, Blood, it was the 7th round that said that Dempsey stopped him, and he got dropped in the 5th round.
There you go. That's right. He got dropped in the fight.
I applauded instantly when Blood, when you said this, I think it was the 7th or 8th, I applauded because there's very few people who know that offhand. You've gotten more and more knowledge over the last 3 years. More and more.
Yeah, because I've read a lot more, bro. Like all of my knowledge, like my more in-depth knowledge now comes from the last 3 or 4 years because I've been a bookworm for only like 4 or 5 years, really. So
really getting stronger. Really getting a lot stronger. Impressed.
yeah. I love the history, man. But it's like, that's what they said. And I found a lot of people who said that the fight did happen and they attended the fight. There's like all kind of, what do they call them? Testimonials or whatever. There's all kind of those out there of people saying that they did attend that event. So, and neither one of them would never say all out, no, it didn't happen. Before Jack Johnson died, he just said, nah, I didn't lose to him. Or he just said, I didn't lose to him. He didn't say it didn't happen. He just said, and that's the thing the writer brought up. He was like, well, he didn't say it didn't happen. He just said, no, I never lost to him.
Well, here's the main thing. He didn't. Do you know why? Because it wasn't an official fight. It was an exhibition, which means there is no loser.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out
So
to
he probably
Sheely.
that was his way of answering. I bet you they had a gentleman's shake. If the fight did happen and they decided to do it private, that handshake is what really was solid in the 1920s and stuff like that. You know, that's you can't take away from that. And a guy like Dempsey,
stood up in court.
those kind of characters are not gonna. They're not gonna give you the. They're not gonna give no media man their private event on the handshake. So it's just the way it is. We don't know if it's real or not. You know, it could have happened.
And like you said, bro, a handshake stood up in court back then. It was
Yep.
dare I say, better than a signed contract. But you know, a man's handshake was his word, and people respected that. And that people respected themselves. They just lying was it was unheard of back then. Really was, man. Shout out to Sheely here, bro. Thanks for stopping in. But yeah, there was some crazy rumors that went on, and you know where I like being able to be alive and hear some of these rumors that people talk about back in the back in the 80s fights and the 70s fights that I saw. I hear such crazy things. You know, people talking about, oh man, off the top of my head I can't remember them, but talking about fights that no way that didn't happen. Who told you that? All these internet bullshit rumors that come around where Marvin Hagler, his talent gets devalued it seems throughout the years. He doesn't get bigger. It seems to get more mediocre, as far as some of these internet chat rooms go. Where when people tell me Triple G would beat Hagler, I can't stay there anymore. How can you argue with somebody who says that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, have you ever
Hell,
seen
I don't. I tell them they dumb as shit and leave.
Look, I'll be honest. When it comes to fantasy fights between really good fighters, I never think there's a right answer because you just do not know. No matter what, that's just me. Like, someone could say to me something that would sound crazy as shit, like Dillian White would knock out Muhammad Ali. As crazy as that sounds to me, you never know. You just never fucking know with this crazy ass.
Well, you have to use
sport.
time. You have to use what I call the time machine approach. You have to put both of them in the time machine. So if you're going to put Dillian White against Ali, you have to put him back under Ali's rules, 15 rounders, all of that stuff, the glove inspection. He's not going to have all those gripes. If he goes back to the 70s, they're going to look at him as some black guy from England, like, you got some nerve. You're not going to eat unless you do the glove inspections how we want them done. He wouldn't have all the gripe. You bring Ali up to now, and then again, which version of Ali are we talking about and which version of Dillian White? So it's like,
you see, look, that's it. Look, we can use a time machine. No matter what we do, we'll never get the actual answer.
That's true.
So the way I look at it is, I've been told, hey, you're fucking stupid because I've said some wild takes, some fantasy fights, right? But my perception is, if somebody turns around to me and says, hey, Mark, who wins, Marvin Hagler or Bruce? I can say Bruce and nobody can prove me fucking wrong. No one can.
That's just the way science is, man. There's so many variables in science and there could be different outcomes. And some of this stuff is just unrealistic because there's too many variables to weigh, even in the time machine approach. Or you could look at it in an unfair way and try. It's like with Mayweather. People will say that Mayweather would have beat everyone that Sugar Ray Robinson beat. He would have beat all of those guys. But could he have done that schedule? Could he have fought, 20-something times in a year with small gloves and had no complaints? He couldn't have been coming with these complaints about safety first because that shit didn't exist back then.
And that's a great thing. That's a great point. Like how fatigued would Floyd be traveling from state to state to state after 6 months and 14 fights? How fatigued would he be?
Yeah.
Well, bro, I hear some
small
of
hands, brittle hands will be able to hold up in that era. I think he'll be a busted up fighter by the time he's 30 years old. He's busted up fighter.
Well, you hear about these fighters being stuck in the legs because they're getting too close to the crowd and sweating on them. And you hear the battle royales. How would these fighters fare in those years? They wouldn't. I mean, that's just it's barbaric. Can you see somebody putting a hood over Floyd and dragging him to a fight? You think he'd fight a second time? These guys were just different animals. You know, you couldn't compare any of the fighters turn of the century and before that to what's going on today.
That's true. Look,
totally.
because anyone who really studies the history will know the type of schedule poor old Joe Gans had to go through, right? You couldn't put anybody. And I'm not even, fuck even now. Nobody from fucking 1925 onward could have fucking dealt with some of the shit that man went through. They had him chained in the ring to a ball while he was getting switched in the corner.
Yeah, they used to have special rules and all kinds of stuff in these fights too that you don't know about them unless you read the newspaper articles. That's the only way you know about a lot of this, because the internet articles don't put a lot of those special rules. Like a lot of these guys would take losses, but they take losses under these weird rules and stuff like that. If you don't knock them out in the fourth round, you lose. And, you know, and then they'll do all kinds of stuff like when they come to the corner, start beating their feet. I heard of some story about some fighter who came to the corner and the fans of the crowd, some guys in the crowd would beat his feet and shit like that. I was like, man,
that happened to Joe Gans.
Okay, yeah, man. I know he had to go through a lot of shit like that, Joe Gans.
There was a rule in one of Gans' fights. I can't remember which fight specifically, right? And it was where he had to fight with his left hand behind his back. And every time that he would bring his left hand out from behind his back in this fight, right? Every time that he would do it, this is no joke, when he went back to his corner, he would get flogged.
Yes, I heard about that.
Every time.
I didn't think about that.
Whoa. And he won the fight.
Yeah.
And he won the fight.
You have to be real mentally strong to have a crowd of people who want to kill you and hang you from a rope and doing that to you and then still win the fight with one hand. You know, it's like the shit like that they had to go through. The fighters today, I don't think are mentally strong enough for that. Those type of guys are very rare. Most people,
you don't think?
Dude,
could you imagine else?
That pressure. I'll tell you what, I couldn't handle no shit like that under that kind of pressure. At least I could admit up to it. I don't know.
No one here could. No one here could.
I don't even know if I'd be a fan of it. I don't.
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be a fan of it.
No, it's not fair, man. It's just not fair. That's just some real cruel shit that they did to some of them fighters. And some of those fighters were real dirty too, like that. What's his name? Mysterious Billy Smith was his name, Mark, or something?
Yeah, like sure. Mysterious Billy.
That guy right there, like that guy used to bite people and do all kinds of crazy shit and get away with it and get the victory and stuff like that. I was like, what kind of shit is this? Like the kind of fighting, like purposely hit people on the nuts, get a warning, and then hit them on the nuts again, and the fight would keep going on. Like I read some stories about that dude. Man, how many characters like that was around at that time, man?
Mark would definitely know, man. You know, very, very few people. And the older we get, instead of people getting smarter, they seem to get dumbing down. You know, with all this bullshit on the internet. You know, and I'm going to get off pretty soon. I got some shit I have to do. I've been here for almost 3 hours. Before I go, let me get everybody's Mount Rushmore of boxing, man. You know, we've been talking to some historians here. Me and G5, we've been listening to these two characters, man, and I dig it. But before we go, Blood, you want to say anything? And let me get your Mount Rushmore, your 4 favorite boxers.
My 4 favorite boxers, the Mount Rushmore right now would be Sugar Ray Robinson, Ali, Armstrong, and who would be the 4th one? Armstrong and Langford.
There you go. I know it's hard to put you on the spot, man, but I love to do it, brother. I love to do it. My wife just came home. She's going to get that bong cleaned out. We're going to have a nice little afternoon session over here. Mark, tell me your Mount Rushmore before we go.
Favorites or greatest?
Your favorites. Put them on Mount Rushmore. You're building this mountain, man. It doesn't have to, whatever you want it to be, man. Whatever you want it to be. So Mr. Pads out there.
I'll give you favorites. Jack Chase, Jimmy McLaren, Alexis Arguello, and Kid Gavilan. I'll give you greatest. Sam Langford, Harry Greb, Henry Armstrong, and Sugar Ray Robinson.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. G5, my brother, man. Man, I can't thank you enough, bro. You want to come in here. Pigeon, I see you back there, but I'm just closing shop over here, bro. Otherwise, I'll let you in.
Yes, sir.
G5, take it away for a second, my brother. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And, man, shoot out your Mount Rushmore of your favorite fighters. Even the current boxers, the boxers you've read about. Shoot it at me, my brother.
Well, I give you my Mount Rushmore. I have Ali, Sugar Ray, Sam Langford. He's one of my favorites, man. I think he's slept on a lot. And shit, man, it's tough, man. I like Harry Greb too. You know what I'm saying? So mine might be similar to Bloods and March. You know, some of the same four fighters. We might have them in different orders, but you know. Same shit. You said a little bit about me.
Where can we see you, bro? When you're gonna be doing your next live? I mean, damn, you're starting to be a legend out here, bro. I used to see it from day one, and now you got your own channel. I'm sure you probably even had it before I came on here, but tell people where to go and tell people what you're doing over there, man.
Well, you can find me at the name on the screen, G5_Gabe, Instagram, YouTube. I started in 2010. I was doing it for gaming, and then I took I didn't start back to like 2019, like hopping back on YouTube. So since then, it's been sports, boxing, and just real life talk, because they all tie in together, whether it be racism, adversity in life. I mean, it goes hand in hand with the sport of boxing. So, you know, I'm not just a boxing channel. I'm a life channel. Try to get people game much as I can. Been married, been divorced at 33, all that good shit. So, you know, I got a little knowledge. I'm an old soul, so you know.
Hey man, I just looked up to you, bro. I didn't know you had your own show, man. I'm sorry about that, but I just subbed just now, bro.
Man, I gotta resub to you, man. It's a bunch of people that I was sub to. I'm not even sub to no more. I don't know what YouTube is on, but I get no notifications from you, No More Blood. I used to get them all the time. All the time. But now I have to make sure.
If I do nothing
tell you what,
else,
you in my rotation now. I got you. I didn't know you had a channel. Shit,
man.
Look, I had no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If I do
I'm
nothing
damn tuned now.
If I do nothing else today, I hooked you guys up together, man. You know, that's right. What the internet's all about. You know,
and I'm gonna send them some magazines too. You're gonna be surprised.
There you go, man. Blood, my brother, Mark, my brother, G5, my brother, and George Jakovic. I don't know where you went, man, but you know, I'm sure you'll be back again, man. Always a pleasure, man. Uncle Phil, a little bit earlier, you would have been more than welcome on the panel. Everybody else out there, man. Bruce goes, thank you so much for coming in. You know, peace out, man, and enjoy the day. God bless.